Hey, yo, hello, hello. Wake up this morning. It's the side Jawn, ladies and gentlemen. How y'all doing out there? Just wanted to let y'all know we're here. Well, y'all know who I am. But we have Sharon Mullen in the building, the chocolate girl. How you doing?
The chocolate girl is doing great this morning, Dennis. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. You know it's coming up on basketball season, and we in the WNBA playoffs. But I know I had to get a special guest in the building when it comes to basketball season. So, I went out and I got me Miss Tricia Joy out the building. I had to go get her out. I had to go call her out of Brooklyn. She was somewhere in Brooklyn. I had to go get her.
You were somewhere in Brooklyn and you ain't even let
I
me
was at the
know.
Barclays Center. I was at the draft. I was
Yeah,
excited to be there.
you shouldn't. If they have it next year, there, please let me know because I live very close, so we could hung out or at least just meet once in person to give a high five. You know.
Right, right. No, we'd had a good time. We went to the draft together. We'd had a good time. Definitely would have had a good time. But today on today's show, like I said, we got Miss Trisha Joy here. Trisha Joy is the owner of 2MW. I always mess it up and say
Yeah.
uh, TMW. That's why I always mess it up. I always mess up and say TMW. She like and Sharon and Donovan always be like, no, it's 2MW. They always every time they always say that to me.
Every
Shout
time.
out shout out to Donovan Samuels too, man. I call him the plug. If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have met you two ladies.
Donovan
Right.
is a great person. He's a
Mm-hmm.
very good motivator. And yeah, he deserves all the shout outs.
Yeah, that's definitely my guy, man. Donovan Samuels. But what I want to know is what made you start the Facebook group?
Okay, that is actually an interesting story. So, I'm a person that loves to support people, in general, and I actually started out supporting independent music artists, just going to shows and just being there and cheering very loud. That was my thing because I love the effort. I love people getting a platform and putting effort to communicate their like crafts. But I was always a big sports fan even before that. And then one day, I think it was the summer of 2012. I That sports part really came out of me when um I was just getting ready for the Olympics. The Olympics were that summer, and I wanted to talk to Olympic athletes. So what I did was started reaching out to them just on Twitter, on social media to talk. And they were saying, yeah, let's talk. I was like, excuse me? you know, um, and I needed a platform to put these things on, right? Because it wasn't just one, it was like maybe someone that was on the swimming team, um, uh, boxers, all that stuff. And I was like, wow, they really just want to talk. And so um, I just had to think about that. The group didn't come up yet, but I was just talking to them and stuff without any platform. Then after the Olympics, we have the NBA season, right? Preseason started in September. And again, like I had all these interviews and they were, I think the Nets were, or some of these teams are letting me come to media day. So I was like, not putting things together quite yet, but I love basketball. Let's do fantasy. And I said, all right, let's start a fantasy group. Like this is me just being a sports fan. And I was like, I need a place where I can talk to everybody in this league because I really love sports and I want to like trash talk outside of Yahoo. So I then started 2MW with just fantasy league participants, 14 people. The original 14 is still in the group. And it just grew. I just put all the interviews that I did with the athletes in there. And then that's how it really started. So it was like a couple months of like thinking about music, but then being inundated in sports, inundated with the Olympics, coming off the Olympics hot into like the fantasy season, and just being like, I need to just talk to the same people all the time about what I'm doing. And so I had 14 people in this group, that 2MW, which was just a fantasy. That's why it's 2-minute warning. It's like a football thing. So I had NBA and fantasy football. And yeah, one day I got up and said, I'm just going to add my friends. And Sean, who is my business partner, he used to be my neighbor. He's not anywhere near, but like we still do business. He added 100 of his friends. I added 100 of my friends, and then 2MW just started like growing. And I think partially because I have very strong opinions about certain things. So people were like, oh, shoot, like she really believes this thing, right? And that's how it started.
Mhm.
Okay, that's cool. Now, how was your first year?
Of 2MW?
Yes.
Okay, so I could approach it from more like a business standpoint. The first year was cool, right? At the time, we're talking 2012, so Facebook is still fairly new. Facebook is maybe 10 years old or less. And so it was a growing experience, an exploratory experience for everybody, like being in a group together all the time. Doing things that would now entertain the group, because it's more than a group, it's an audience. So the first year I had a lot of learning to do. I had to learn what they were responsive to, what they liked and what they didn't like, drove what drove them to be like happy in the environment. Because I always say 2MW is an experience. It's not just a sports group. I want it to be an experience. So the first year was a learning all the behaviors and the likes and the dislikes of everybody in the group. And then growing like a bond between everyone to move the group forward, right? So Sharon came in the second portion of 2MW, but she hears the stories. Like people would be commenting all night. Like we would average maybe about like 200 posts, but it would be like very intense battles like about different things. So that came from knowing how to start a conversation and bring people together so that they would share this experience separately. So the like remote fandom, as you would call it.
Now, from I guess 2012
Mhm.
to now, has there been some things that changes that you made, Brandon, etc. Since then?
Sure. So we'll talk about branding first, and then we'll talk about changes, right?
All
And
right.
I talk to Sharon about this all the time. 2MW is real for me, right? It's not just a group. I've made strides business wise to make sure that it's shored up. The 2MW logo on the group right now is trademarked, right? Officially by the US government. And that was a first step for me to make it real. Now, I don't think people are going to go around and steal that logo, but I wanted to make sure that I started doing the protections for that branding, right? And so it's on my shirts, it's on everything. We just renewed the branding. When you trademark stuff, it's good for 7 years, and then you have to re-up. So we did that. The second thing on the changes over the years. So everything matures over time. And I would say I made certain changes because I would be so invested in making sure everyone felt great in the group that I would sometimes lose my own feel like lose my own balance, right? Because now you're trying to make people feel good in this group, so they could get away from their personal problems. So I personally had to make changes for myself for balance. If you notice now in 2021, I'm not even an admin of my group.
Mhm.
I am not an admin of 2MW. I'm a member. I am in the admin chat for like discussions about the business, but I've put it on a trusted people that have been members for a while, to as including Sharon, to be admins of the group to make decisions. I'm a fan too. I know I have my flaws. Sometimes I get emotional, and so I don't want to make decisions for the group that's based off of emotion. That would be detrimental. So it's like having a panel of people that can check me. And sometimes, I leave. Like I'll be like, I'm leaving the group, you know, and I'll be out,
I
But
can attest to that.
right.
Yes.
But I haven't.
I know
Yeah.
how that
And
feels. Let me
then
say
she hears from me, you can't leave. This your damn group.
Right.
You're not leaving.
Right. But it gives
I
me
was like, what you talking about?
the
The phone will be the phone rings after she hits me up and says that she knows I'm gonna call her. We're gonna have
right.
to have a conversation.
It gives me the
Mhm.
flexibility to still be a fan too. I know I'm not a perfect person. And so I don't want to make a decision that ruins the group, because I made a decision out of emotion. I know myself. So I make bigger picture decisions, like that are more administrative from a business level, but like from the operations of the group, I'm not an admin. I have admins and mods, and those mods do several things. So I want to tell you about the changes, right? In another aspect, you gain a lot of friends in the group, and sometimes those friends have also flaws. And so I had to make changes on that end, where you're not necessarily an admin just because we're friends. Um, 2MW has gone through several splits because of that. Because people think I have a favoritism on certain people. There's 2MW has gone on splits because people see how it's operated from the outside and believe they can do a job, and that's fine. Making a group is simple click of a button on Facebook. You can always make a group. And so I always sit back and tell those people, despite the split, because everybody could have drama and beef, that I support them, because for up until the time the split happens, they supported me, right? But I can also tell them that there are many learnings that they'll have on their own, making their own group, that they don't see, because I'm shielding it from them. Dealing with a whole bunch of emotions, dealing with the growth, dealing with constantly coming up with new approaches to content. That is something they don't think about, but when they're in the position, they sort of have to grow. And I'm always there to support. So there's several groups that came out of 2MW because of, the splits over time, but I always maintain support. I be on their shows, I be in their groups. I just, I comment, because a personal change I made over time is letting go, and not being so emotionally invested from a negative energy standpoint. Um, so yeah, I'm doubling on two things. You as a group owner, or a person that's running the group, the investment it takes, the changes over time, going from like super hyper focused to growing, to then realizing that your own personal growth may be stunted, and then coming back and fixing that. Super focused on growing the group initially, and then over time delegating to other people to help. So I have admins. I experimented with having them have their own content for a while. So we had several podcasts. I didn't think that to me wasn't really successful for the group, but it was successful for the personal growth of the individuals participating, because they all have their own personal shows. And that in itself is a win. Back to my statement about the platform, when I started talking to athletes, my primary focus was to give people a platform to talk, because I think that everyone is a smart. I think people in the comments like have come up with great ideas, but we don't work for ESPN, we don't work for Fox Sports 1, and so 2MW, if anything, is a place for them to be able to express themselves, maybe learn how to express themselves, and then ultimately, if you want to go off and do your own thing, that's great. You know, maybe that's my purpose. So that's what happened over time.
Okay, okay, I like that. I definitely do like that. That was that was different. I don't know nobody to take themselves out the group, but it might have been for the better of the group, not just your own selfishness.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
it's better. You know, Dennis, because you work very hard. And Sharon sees it. Sharon tells me about it. Sharon also works hard. But you, as a person with a brand, you're heavily invested in the growth, and you want to make sure this happens. And passion is driving you, but it could also drive you a little bit nuts sometimes, because you can't separate, right? Your brand, this is everything. So
Right.
I needed something to release, even if I couldn't fully release. At least I could pretend that I'm not going to deal with the group for 2 weeks, but I know the group is not going to fall apart because there's moderators in there that's taking care of it, right? And so from a mental health standpoint, it was necessary to create my own sort of little cave or back door to release myself from the group, but know that it'll still be functioning. And then when I get back, it'll, people will laugh at me and it'll be like, haha, you've been out for a while, you ran away from your old group, and then we just get back to normal. So that was very important. And I think everyone should figure out a way to do that.
Yeah. At least Jeffrey says it sounds like good self care. Um,
Yeah.
I mean, I understand. Sometimes you do have to get away. Uh, sometimes you do have to get away from some things, just for a little bit, just to
Yeah.
just to get your life together and have a good time. You know what I mean?
Right. Right. I was losing sleep. I was losing a lot of sleep. And because, at the time I had my full-time job, which, I was coasting, right? Because I knew I was good at my job. I was doing it before 2MW started. But when you're so passionate about this thing, because this is your baby, your child, right? That's
Mhm.
a second layer of thinking you have to do, right? You're thinking about the present, and you're thinking about the future, right? 6 months in the future, where do you want your group? How do you move towards that, right? And so every little thing becomes you become hypersensitive about every little thing in the group, because you want to hit this goal. And so that is help. That's normal, but when you're losing sleep, it affects your health. You can't be your best self if you do get to that success goal. So, I do a lot of working on myself outside of the group. I know you guys are friends with me on Facebook outside of the group. Those posts aren't just posts like I just come up with just to get likes. Like I do first thing I do when I wake up as a person that runs a group and a business is that, like, I spend the first half an hour to an hour meditating. Like literally, I do not pick up my cell phone. I have it on my schedule right now from 8:15 to 9:15, or 7:15 to 8:15. Meditate, clear my head. I do a lot. I read the Bible a lot, like just because I need to calm down, because it's easy to wake up and go into your phone, and then you see a comment, you be like, what the? And then you start hammering them, right? Because you ain't had your coffee, you're like irritated, and you saw this comment, right? So I do that in the morning before I even start work, and then I start my day. So it's very important for me. I make sure consistently 7 days a week do that for myself, so that I can get ready for the group and get ready for the business.
That's good. That is good. I gotta. I don't. I don't meditate, but at the end, there's nothing somebody can type that'll get me to another level either.
Well, I mean, it really, maybe it's not typing, but it's something else. You know, I mean, we all have like our gaps.
Triggers.
There's something on your mind that
Our
like,
triggers.
yeah, that has your triggers. My trigger was the people coming for me, and then the because I was wrapped up in the brand, right? Everything was driven by me. So it's like, oh, I hate 2MW. It's really like you hate Tricia, right? That's how I felt, because I was the most vocal person in the group, right? So the brand itself, in those early days of Facebook, it was sensitive to me. I wanted to make sure that people continue to have a good experience, and that people continue to get a chance to voice their opinions. So I was hypersensitive on that. Come and being a female, being a woman with a sports group, you know, there's things that happened, Dennis, that I don't talk about. There are things that people have said to me that I don't say, but 10 years later, I'm their best friend. I'm like their bestest friend. I would back them up for anything.
Yeah.
And that's something I had to endure, right? So it's, you know, and I'm talking about people talking about my appearance. I'm thinking about people all of that, right? People will say the nastiest things to you when and it's detrimental to the brand. Like, you have to fight for respect and then fight for your brand first. And so that was the reason why it was, you know, my triggers are that, you know, I would wake up to people talking about my intelligence.
Oh yeah, I get that a lot. I get that a lot. It's kind of crazy that you say that. I got that around when I was starting and going. You know what I mean? We talking about family members was coming out and like, oh, here you go with the podcast bullshit, and don't nobody give a damn about your podcast. You know,
Right.
somebody immediately will start a sports conversation with me. I'll be doing something else, and then next thing you know, I heard a hating ass family that this ain't the podcast. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
but see, my thing, I'm always thinking differently. Like the people that say this shit, who are you?
Right.
That's
What you
always my
doing?
thought. Like
And
who
what
are
are
you?
you
The
doing?
people that say shit. I've had people, and I might be going a little deep here. I've had people who I've helped in the podcast game go back and say some hating shit about me
Yeah.
to a bunch of other people, and then them other people came and told me.
Right.
And it was one of them things like, nah, they ain't say that. Nah, they ain't. And then somebody else say the same thing to you, like, the fuck? Like, what the fuck going on here? Like,
Right.
but it was at the end of the day, I looked at it and I was like, you know what? I'm not even gonna go down that road. I gotta keep pushing.
Right.
I
And
gotta
so
keep pushing.
that's a level of maturity that you have. I did not have, right? I did not understand it, you know, because I'm looking left and right, and I've seen everybody supporting everybody's stuff. And here is like, we're going above and beyond with the content, above and beyond with the creativity. And it was a lot of back talking about me. And Sharon was there when it was really kind of nasty.
Really nasty.
And it was heartbreaking because, you know, on my side, I'm putting everything into it, but people don't like to see you doing some stuff sometimes, Dennis. And it could be the people that's really on the inside, right? As long as you are on the same level, or as long as you're not showing like you're taking things to a next level, they're for you. But once it's like, hey, you're really dedicated about that, they're trying to test you. And earlier
Yeah,
on, I
right.
wasn't good at that.
I'm gonna tell you a quick story. When I was younger, my grandma owned a soul food restaurant. At that time, it wasn't but two soul food restaurants in Philadelphia that were black owned.
Mm.
So she owned a soul food restaurant, and it used to be people that I grew up with that would be like, "Oh, your grandma food nasty," but then they would go eat at the dirty Chinese store across the street. And at one point, I was having this conversation. I was upset, but then, my grandma told me, she was like, "You can't be upset about that. That's the food that they chose. That's what they wanted. At the end of the day, let them eat that. It's not going to stop us from making money because that's what they said.
Right.
Like they ain't eat no, but they ain't at no 5-star restaurants.
Right.
They ain't eat no different. You know what I mean? We in the same neighborhood. They felt as though they wanted to go ask the Chinese man for help.
Right.
But yet, when it's time for a block party, when it's time for the community to do stuff, they don't ask that same Chinese man for nothing, do they? I was like, no, they don't. And that's how I had to look at things. You
Right.
can't just look at just that moment. You need to look at things in the whole picture.
Right.
That's what I had to learn. I had to learn. You had to look at things in the whole picture. Oh, this dude hating on me. Well, let him hate. Fuck that. Let him do what he gonna do. Until he the reason that I stop getting money, then it's a problem.
Right.
But for right now, you keep hating.
See, and I had to learn that lesson. I had to learn that because I'm so I was so into just growing this group. The bigger picture was the tunnel vision, so I was not able to step back. And I would say that's the biggest growth that I've had over these years. Sharon, go ahead.
Yes. I have to add to this because while Tricia's been talking this morning, the videotape has been playing back in my mind of the many conversations we used to have about what was going on the in the group on the wall. And when we would have these conversations, and she would be very upset, and I would say to her, I would let her vent first of all, and then I would always say to her, listen, you started this group, you know why you started it, you are an intelligent woman, you know what you're talking about, whether we agree or disagree. And Tricia and I don't always agree on subjects of basketball and other things. Yeah. We don't. But the thing is, our respect for each other is so high. I mean, Tricia is very creative, as you know, Dennis. Yes. And she used to come up with some zingers, boy. She used to get me live on our show, make me look this stupid, this small. And I used to be so mad after the show. I'd be like, what the fuck did you say that? Why did you say that? I mean, I used to be mad. But that was still my girl. And I knew she still respected me, even though we used to disagree. And so when we would have these conversations and I would say, listen, 2MW is your group. And I just don't believe in you leaving it. But after she explained everything that she just talked to us about her mental health and why it's so personal, why it triggers her, all of that stuff, then I understood it. Because I didn't understand it at first. I was just all about, this is your shit.
Right.
You don't let nobody run you out of your stuff. You don't do that. Right. Because that's what they want. Don't give in. And see, I guess I'm like that. I'm very stubborn about that type of thing. I'm not gonna let you push me out of anything.
Right.
And that's just how I was raised. I'm not leaving because you want me to. I'm gonna leave when I want to, on my terms.
Yeah.
And that's the way it's gonna be. But so I had to understand and grow in that understanding myself as her personal friend and advisor, so to speak, because she advises me and I advise her. It's a two-way street. Mm-hmm. And so she would come to me and explain all this stuff to me. And at the very end, I would say to her, well, you know what? Whatever your decision is, I'm here. You know my routine, Tricia. Yeah. I'm always here in your corner. Whether we agree or disagree, I'm always here in your corner. And I will watch the wall. I will do whatever I need to do to help this group be successful, because it was the very first sports group I ever got in, was 2MW.
Oh.
It was the very first one before I had no idea that this world even existed when I first started, because I was slow to venture out. I had my page and that was it.
Right.
My page, my Michigan State alumni group, and that's it. You know, So I'm saying this to say, when Tricia mentioned that she had to grow and she didn't have that level, I have watched her fight and grow to this point. And that respect has continued to this day, which is why no matter what, I always say to you, Dennis, that's my girl. 2MW is it. I
Yeah,
am always going to be loyal to 2MW. That's the group that I rock with. Otherwise, I'm an independent. I'm independent, the chocolate girl. And that's what made me really decide to create my own little independent brand. But I'm sticking with 2MW. And everywhere I go, I always shout out 2MW and Tricia Joy.
that's
Every
right.
show, just about.
Every show.
I don't care what we're talking about. It wouldn't it may not even be shout out time.
Yeah.
I might be giving an opinion and all of a sudden I might just say, oh, and shout out to 2MW and Tricia Joy. If you're listening, shout out. That's what I always say
Yeah.
because of that.
Thank
And
you.
I'm proud to do it.
I love that you still shout me out, even though like I've I've repressed your podcast, vidcast dreams with not doing out of your league.
Hold on, we about to get to that.
We'll get into that in a minute.
We about to get into that.
We'll get into that in a minute, but
because we wanted to talk about your creativity, and I wanted to talk about these shows you were doing. You had well, I think it was the
Real Stat, Card Chaos.
Yes. Real Stat 360 and One-on-One Card Chaos Live.
Yeah.
Yes.
I love both of those shows. I got a
One-on-One Card Chaos t-shirt. That's how much I love the show.
Thank you.
Me too.
I am working to bring that back. And I feel like COVID kind of slowed me down. Not catching COVID, but I feel like I'm all coming out of this PTSD thing about the whole situation. But the game was invented during the height of COVID. So I'll talk about creativity. I think my purpose in the group is to come up with as many creative things as possible. And that helps, even though it's just a group, with you think about it as a business, it keeps you a step ahead, right? So you have the Ignorant Thinkers podcast, and you're constantly thinking about how to move it ahead of the game. Anybody that's watching this or will watch this on the replay, if you have your business, you're always thinking in advance. The one thing that I thought of in advance or try to do is make something that's unique out of combining things that people don't typically combine. So like you can have a podcast and you'll say, okay, what can I do to make this unique to me? That's what I always think about when I come up with ideas. So number one, I've always been thinking about ways to come up with content off of content. I think every comment can be a piece of content. That was my first initial thing. My second thing was I loved comedy and I loved acting. And my job before I left sent me to comedy school. And so there was a stint in 2MW where I was going to school for comedy. And my goal wasn't to be on Saturday Night Live. So I'm in like big time comedy schools. I went to the Pit. I went to UCB, which is in New York City, and I also went to another big school that is out here. I don't like to talk about it because I want to graduate first. But
take your time, because I gotta ask you a couple of questions about some comedy. But go ahead, take your time.
My thought was, how can I make this something that makes 2MW unique? And so I went to you see I have a blue curtain, right? I like late night television. So I went to school for a late night or like a 1 week full thing workshop with Letterman's lead writer. And so for a week I went to late night comedy writing class, and I have the book somewhere around here. I always give it to someone. I always tell somebody when they ask me, and studied how to deliver like a late night television host. So when I come up with content is that with that background mentality, like, how can I make this similar, right? But unique for the sports realm. So, you know, even though from the way I post on the wall, that comes from going to school for late night television comedy writing and learning what effective communication looks like. There's certain tricks and ways to deliver words. And so delivering the words in the right way to start a conversation was a lot of what drove me in like maybe from 2015 on. I'm very particular on how I compose a post. So people, it looks like I just throw it on the wall, but that's practice. You know, I've been practicing how to effectively make people think about what I just said. And how Card Chaos actually came from I actually had like a dream about it, honestly. I woke up when I was sleeping and then I was thinking, and they were like, where are your basketball cards? Play with your basketball cards. And so I was like, okay. And I remember Sharon, I think you were the only one for my first show because I had to test it. It was that fresh in my brain. Like I got up that week and I was like, Sharon, I had this vision. I had this thing, right? And at that time I was in that period where I wanted to step away from doing the podcasts because I thought it was only bringing negative energy. So I'm like, how can I bring positive energy and fun and still do commentary without being like attacked for my opinions? And that's how Card Chaos came. Basketball combined with basketball cards, but using it as like a game with a timer, like just to see what things you can combine to come up with your gift, right? A lot of people that do business help or self-help or coaching will tell you that, especially if it's to come up with the unique way you're going to make money. How are you going to differentiate yourself from everybody else? You come up and you write a list of all the things you like, then combine them. See what comes from it, right? I like basketball. I have basketball cards, combine them. I like to laugh, right? How do you make people laugh? And I also like short time things. I don't want to go on forever. So like, how do I put time? How do I put a sense of urgency, my cards and basketball together, and then see what comes up, what ideas, right? So yeah, that's pretty much how I come up with things for the group.
And let me add to that too. When she called me about Card Chaos, and I'm listening to her describe all of this and the dream and everything, and I'm sitting there, I actually literally sat back and I remember waiting until she got finished, and I was quiet, and she's like, Sharon, and I'm like, you know what? You are effing genius. This is brilliant. I mean, that's all I can say. And then she laughed. I said, no, I'm serious. This is really, really special. You should run with it.
Yeah.
Run with it. And then when she told me, I'm going to do it in the middle of the day, I was like, oh. And then it hit me. I was like, oh my God, what a brilliant idea. Lunch hour. Quick. 20 is like 28 minutes. It's not really fully 30. It's like 28 minutes of actual time. Catching them at lunch. And now the first week, it was like 3 people.
Right.
Then it grew and grew. And finally, I was getting pinged in notifications of people telling me to come in. So many, I knew she was doing fine. And my lunch hour was different. So I couldn't always be there at 1:00. And it was brilliant. And I was just like, this girl.
So one thing I want to add.
That was during the quarantine.
Yeah.
So I was watching a couple of them live, but the rest of them I had to watch after the show.
Mm-hmm.
Right. The one thing I want to add on that, because I know a lot of people might not be sports fans that are watching the show, but one thing the thing I want to add about that experience was the consistency. Because I said to myself, all you have to do is 21 times. Just try doing this show 21 times. I put a specific number. Do this show 21 times. So I said, okay, a Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And by and because people say 21 makes a habit. By the 22nd show, I got the interview with Beckett Magazine, which is the biggest magazine in the hobby for trading cards. They've been around since 1972. Somebody from their team discovered the show on social media and reached out to me to do the interview. That was the 22nd show. So, everything when it comes to business, right? Try to be consistent and also try to believe in yourself. I'm lucky to have a Sharon. I'm lucky. Some people don't have people that support them, right? And so,
You ain't the only one lucky to have a Sharon.
right. Right?
Y'all.
So
Don't make me cry early in the morning.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
It's very hard, right, to start something and know that, people are going to just blow it off in the beginning, right? And, even though Sharon couldn't come to all the shows, she'd come to some, or she would like share the link and stuff like that.
And I was there. I was with you on the pre-show.
Right.
I was always in there because my lunch was 11:30 to 12:30. So I would hit her up and inbox her around 12:15, and I would say, "Hey, you ready? You getting ready? You gonna do it at one? Okay, blah 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 blah." And I would make a post. I would make my own post of it in the group to remind people.
Right.
Yeah, I gotta support my girl. Gotta support her.
If you have a friend that is starting something, please support them, because you might be that only one person, and you're supporting them out of support, but like, as a person that always starts something that people think is off the wall in the beginning, it's important to have that one person in addition to your own personal strength to help you keep going. Because I started Card Chaos with a dry erase board. I showed Sharon this thing on my phone. I said, here's a dry erase board. I'm just going to draw the names of everybody. And then it moved to the PowerPoint, and then it moved on, right? But if I didn't have that one person just saying, okay, this is cool, then I might have quit on myself, So if you're watching Entrepreneur Friends, please lend them any kind of support, and the support doesn't have to be financial. It could be like, yo, that was a great idea. Keep going. There are a lot of people that I know that said they were proud of me. And that just saying that meant so much to me, because you don't get it all the time, right? Just a kind word to a person starting out something new will do a major thing. So please try to do that for them, even if you can't physically be there or financially be there. I tell them, it takes courage to come up with a new idea, or say, man, like, you're great at execute. Find something positive, because that little thing is important in that kind of vulnerable time when you're coming up with a new baby or new idea, So that was what was great. Sharon being on the live for 10 minutes while I put up this dry erase board and be like, here's my bracket, Sharon. Can you see it?
Yep.
Yeah, so that's how it came. I do a lot of creative thinking. I make a lot of lists of things, and then say, what can I do? What can I do to make this cool that people would watch,
Can I read a few of the comments?
Oh, cool. Comments. Yeah.
All right. I'm gonna go back a little bit. And when you were talking about your creativity, crazy Buck Flair, shout out to Buck Flair and the Buck Flair show on Wednesdays. He said, Sharon running for office, independent chocolate girl. That just really sounds like something he would say. And of course, he said woo already. Woo in the comments already.
Before you move
Mhm.
on, I want to say that I've dipped in and out of the Buck Flair show, and I do admire his creativity as well. He's very unique.
Yes.
And I like that, and I like that he keeps it because it makes him different, and it shows like
Mhm.
he's very confident in himself and his delivery. So I've caught a few portions
Mhm.
of it, and I know what he's working on. So keep doing what you're doing too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Buck Flair is a
Buck Flair got
he
the
is a
best props in
joy
the
and a
world.
hoot.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
He
He,
got a
he
prop
is something
somewhere
else.
that goes with what
He,
he talking about. I don't know what it is, but he got a
Yeah,
prop
I
somewhere.
love it. Yeah.
and let me tell you, Tricia, the Buck Flair you see on the show, that's him all the time. That's
Ah,
that's
good.
that's Buck
Authentic.
Flair. He is
Authentic.
really genuine. He's a genuine person, true, real, and you can feel it. He's just that dude. So yeah, shout out to
Authentic.
Buck Flair
Yeah.
and the Buck Flair show on Wednesdays with his co-host Dennis Holmes at 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern time. But okay,
Yes.
so I'm going to continue with the comments. So shout out to Leslie Robinson. This is my girl from my hometown, Tricia. I got her watching. I guess she's also a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, so love me some Leslie. And she asked, what does 2MW stand for? And Dennis let her know, 2-minute warning. Um, OG, shout out to OG in the comments. Thank you, sir. He said that you're very creative. And Buck Flair said, I wish I was creative. You are creative.
He is
Just like
creative.
Tricia said, you are. And Buck Flair said, Dennis Green, that's you, Dennis. Dennis Green don't need no comedy. And then, of course, I said, thank you to everyone for joining us. Please like and share the show. Love you, Kellen. We love you and miss you. And then all you need to do is do the show 21 times. It makes a habit, Trisha Joy. I put your quote in the comments. And then OG said he likes that 20-second. He likes that. And Jay Will said, shout out to Jay Will for joining us. He said, oh, look at all the love in the room. It's always love when I'm with my girl. It's always love. We fight though. And there is always love. And then OG said, facts, Jay is supporting real folks. And then Elise said, people sometimes think support is financial.
Right.
And there are so many free ways to support your friends. A word of encouragement, a text message goes a long way. Amen to that, Elise. Shout out to Elise. And uh, what's the name of their show, Dennis? Sweet Love. That's it. Sweet Love. Yeah. And then OG said encouragement. And that's it so far down here. There's some other comments earlier, but it'd be too
So
long for me to
bef-
scroll back.
before we move on, because I know Dennis had something, I just want to talk about one new thing that I'm coming up with. Now, Card Chaos, I'm bringing back.
Yeah, that was our
I
next
just,
question. Mm-hmm.
I just, I took a little minor break, but I'm always thinking about a way to just take it up a notch. So it's coming back. I just have to get
Yay.
warmed back up to like being live and stuff like that because I've been off a long time. But I do have another series coming up. So one thing I did a lot during COVID to grow is read a lot of books.
Yes.
Audible books, right? Because this
Yes, sent me the names.
yeah.
Read this.
Yeah, I kept telling Sharon, right? Because
Read this.
it's a business too, right? So there are a lot of I read a lot about sales, a lot about marketing, a lot about confidence, right? But I just got into the rhythm of like listening to a lot of books that will help me be better at business and growing the group and growing the business. And back to 2MW, which is a sports thing, we decided to do a small series starting this month about the Jordan rules. So I've been reading the Jordan rules book and putting up quotes from the book that are good conversation. I'm going to put one up about today about stars and whether they're required to make their teammates better. But that there was a comment about Phil Jackson made about the way the Knicks played and how they played with the star making the team better back in his day. Not, I don't know about the Knicks now, right? But like the real, you always have to think step ahead. So it's not just reading the book now, right? But if you're in a business, you think ahead. Scottie Pippen releases his book in November. So we're doing the pre-work, right? Reading some kind of content that's Michael Jordan related, because we all feel like Pippen may be a little bit mad about Jordan and the last dance and things that may not have been communicated. So this is sort of like a 2.5 month sprint where we're starting the pre-work with reading about what was in the Jordan rules and getting the conversation about Jordan. And then when Pippen drops his book in November, we'll start reading it as a group and talking about maybe the controversial things that he's going to be saying in that book. Hopefully it's worth what he's saying, because there's a lot of things that Pippen is doing that I'm like, yo, is this to sell the book or what? But yeah, I say this to say you got to be creative and then think in advance, like what's the end goal, right? Maybe we do have a book club. Any of y'all got a book club for the podcast? I'm not sure, unless it's an actual podcast about book club. So we'll see if that is effective, if people are willing to join in and read about their favorite athletes, and then or talk about topics that stem from the books that these athletes are putting out, or the content that they're putting out. So again, it's a twist. We could talk every day about sports and what's going on day to day, but that has a shelf life, right? It's because the score and the game ended yesterday, and there's about so long you're going to talk about that score and that game into the future, maybe 2 or 3 days. So I'm looking for shelf life when I do content. And I'm not saying your whole show has to have long shelf life. You can talk about the playoffs and what happened in the game or whatever. But I always want to have a piece of my show that I want to cut that could live on forever. And so a discussion about what does a star making their team better a requirement, that is a portion of a show that I can cut later on and put it on YouTube, and people will be like, oh yes, let's see if this still holds true now, with this era,
Right.
So I try to do a mixture of short-term content, short shelf life content, long shelf life content, and sometimes in the same show. So
Okay, all right, that's good. That's good to hear. So what I want to know now, because it's basketball season, it's coming up. So I want to know, growing up, who was one of your favorite basketball players?
let me see, hold on, give me 1 second. I want to see if I have the card here. I have a card. I must have a card. Hold on.
Oh, I know you do. You got to have one. I know she does.
Yes, hold on. I knew it. Oh, okay. Sorry. I had to dig deep because I have like hundreds of cards around me. Guys, bear with me for a second. This is my favorite player of all time. This is Steve Kerr.
Oh my gosh. This is going to be a bad segment.
Oh, wait,
Yeah, I know
hold on. There's
some people are shocked. Some people are
another,
gonna be shocked to hear that. Mm-hmm.
Right? I got 2 cards here, right, for you. And I got several of them.
Mm-hmm.
But I just want to let y'all know I'm legit, right? Now, he played, I almost say he played with Jordan. Jordan played with him, all right? Jordan played with Steve Kerr. Steve Kerr is my favorite player of all time. Anytime
and
he's
why?
on,
Tell them why.
Why? Well, it's several things, right? So here's the basketball thing. I was a big fan of BJ Armstrong, and BJ Armstrong was at the time like the 3-point shooter of the Bulls, and then they waived him, and then they started out with they replaced him with Steve Kerr, and I was shocked and appalled, right? But then like I learned to love him. So That's one reason why, like, I kind of stick with the brother. I don't know. Sharon, what have I told you? I have a million different Steve Kerr stories that.
You told me that, and you were fascinated by the way he played the game. You could tell
Yeah,
that he was a smart player. He wasn't just out there just winging it. You could tell, and he wasn't demonstrative and try to take over the game and be the man. He didn't have that
right,
personality, but
right,
he was so needed on that team. And people, you zone in on the key person that keeps other people afloat. You
right.
zone in,
That's
and I do
good.
too.
Yeah,
It's almost like looking at the background of
right,
stuff. You don't
right,
look at what's all out in front. See, Jordan was in front. Everybody knew, everybody looking at, but you looking over there at the
right.
side, like the
Yes.
side John. You looking over there on the side, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's, you said you were just drawn to him for that reason.
Yeah, like he was the guy, like no one would think. No one would pay attention to him, but clearly he was getting minutes, and it was because he was important. And I had to kind of watch that, right? Because they could put any other athletic person in there, right? But Steve Kerr was the guy that they picked. And so from my beginnings, right? I started basketball in high school.
Mm-hmm.
And this is like a personal side. I'm always drawn to people that people doubt, right? People wouldn't
That's
look at
it.
Steve
That's what
Kerr
she told
and
me.
be
Yep.
like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, he's great, right? I wasn't the most athletic person. The size that you see me now is the size I've always been. I was born with full diapers. I was never like like a skinny kid, but I like love basketball. But I started out on the bench. Like I had to just sit there and watch, right? And so I have respect for people that come off that bench, right? And they're able to flourish. So Steve Kerr, I'm telling you, Dennis, I'm not lying. If Steve Kerr's on television, my family knows to DVR it. They
Even now.
know to take,
Even
even
now.
not, my mother
Mm-hmm.
will call me. She's like, and my mother's not from here. She's like, Tricia, your guy, hit him on the TV. She knows to call me when Steve Kerr show up. Right, I love Steve Kerr. I got his when I played basketball. I tried to get his number or something close to it. Right, he was number 4, but I couldn't get number 4, so I got number 15. So because 5 minus 1 is 4, right? Like I was like I tried, I tried so hard. Like I have a lot of 4s from different tournaments that I play, but anytime I couldn't get it, like I needed to have something close to Steve Kerr's number. So that was my favorite player. And I know people are watching for business. Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something about this love for Steve Kerr, right? It was actually my calling card to be catapulted up in corporate America. So my company used to do something called, they used to let people talk about the things that they love to do. And, being corporate America, they're like, somebody will do a presentation on their work. Like I love technology or I love SEO. But I did a whole presentation on why I like basketball, why Steve Kerr is my favorite player, and how I started 2MW. Would you know the president of the company would send me an email and say, guess who I'm sitting next to on the jet? Iman Shumpert.
Wow.
What should I ask him? Right? Like
wow.
I'm legit. And mind you, I'm not that high in the organization. I'm working I'm lower level at this point, right? I'm lower level, right? Or the company would start taking me on meetings, right? And I had nothing to do with the project, but my only job was to talk to this stakeholder because he started a blog about the Sixers. So talk to him about basketball. And my only purpose in this whole business meeting is to sit next to the guy and just go back and forth about the 76ers. Right. And so always hold on to your dream. Poor Dennis is like, this is ridiculous. I'm so serious.
No, this is actually interesting.
It in.
They made me.
Steve Kerr has made the side jump.
Tricia, that's Dennis's I'm taking it all in silence. I can
So
tell he's just like really engaged in what you're saying.
let me tell you something, Dennis, and anybody else watching. When I did the presentation about Steve Kerr and like being my favorite, and I actually went into the science of how I became a Thunder fan, and then how I created 2MW and things like that in the presentation. My company made me tape the presentation, and then they sent it to every region.
Nice.
Right? So
Wow.
yes. And so people from Seattle were emailing me like, oh my God, I can't believe you like the Thunder because, you know, Seattle used to have the Sonics, right? But that became I was known in the company for loving the basketball. So when people say like really, really take on your passions, like even if you're still working or whatever, like don't be afraid to tell people because you never know, right? So yes, Steve
That's
Kerr.
right.
Yeah, you're
And
gonna
your
be
favorite
upset.
team is Oklahoma City Thunder still, right?
Yes. Okay.
You're
Are we going
definitely
to
you're
the sad
definitely
part of
gonna
the
be
show?
upset about my NBA hot take. You know, you and every Golden State Warrior fan
What's
are
the hot
definitely
tea?
that they're not making the playoffs.
Oh, listen, I'm okay. Listen, Dennis, that don't hurt me. I'm realistic. The Thunder.
Mhm.
Um, we got some growing to do. We have 976 first round picks. We need to figure out what we're gonna do with all
No,
900.
not the Thunder.
What?
Golden State Warriors.
Oh, I mean the Golden State Warriors aren't my team, so I
But Steve Kerr is the coach. That's why he's saying that. So probably,
okay. So let me tell you something.
yeah.
I like Steve Kerr, the player,
This is a separate issue with her with the coaching.
but
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of Steve Kerr, the coach.
Oh,
Right? Right? So and Sharon knows this. This is me being consistent.
Mhm.
I'm not a fan of Steve Kerr, the coach. I love him though. I still love him. Like, you know, I just think about the Bulls as a player, but like at one point he was general manager of the Phoenix Suns, right?
yeah. Put that
Like
super put that Super Suns team together that didn't make it.
right. I can separate the two Steve Kerrs, right? My favorite player, Steve Kerr, but like I'm not trying to have him win no NBA championship now with the Golden State Warriors. No. You know?
Okay. All right. Josh Bailey said Klay Thompson. Yeah, Klay Thompson's gonna be there. You're gonna be in full effect. But you're gonna be
Don't
outside.
Please.
get me
Oh, wait a
started.
minute. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Hold it. Please do not get her started on the. Do not mention Clay Thompson anymore in this broadcast, people.
Nope,
Please just leave it alone.
I will not.
Leave
I
it
will.
Oh,
alone.
it's nothing to mention. He ain't played in 2 years.
You can mention him next week when she's not on the show. But while she's
Right.
on the show, do not mention Clay Thompson. Thank you very much. Josh is just trying to
Is there
provoke
any
her.
other
He
player?
knows
Is
this.
there any other player that's excluded out of this?
You cannot talk about Clay Thompson. You cannot talk about Magic Johnson, Luke Walton, and
Luke Walton,
there's
the
another
coach or the player?
either one.
Either
Don't
one.
talk about him. Just don't bring his name up.
Tim
Okay.
Duncan.
Tim Duncan, and there's one more. There's somebody I'm missing. I can't remember who it is, but definitely not.
Is
Oh,
it Dame
Dame
Dollar?
Dollar. That's it. Dame Dollar. Thank you,
Josh,
Josh.
Josh ain't
Thank
shit. He
you,
a troll
Josh.
for
Shout
Josh a
out to
troll for
Josh
real,
Bailey
yeah.
because
Ain't Josh
Josh
a troll for real?
Bailey is like
Just
the
when you know
keeper
that
of
it's
the
Dame
troll.
Dollar, you're a troll for real,
Listen,
Josh.
he is the keeper of the troll info.
Oh man,
I'm not
I
gonna
think he got that
I'm
shit
not gonna
written down.
call him a troll. I'm gonna say he is the keeper and the master of the troll info. That's what
Yeah.
I'm gonna say.
Right.
That's what I'm gonna say. And he knows when to pull that mess out. But that's it. Dame Dollar. Please don't mention. Mm-mm. We can bring them back next week, Dennis.
Yeah, you could do it when I'm not
When
here.
she's just
Well, actually, we
in
got
the comments.
on Talk US Tuesday on October 12th. We actually have the NBA show where we're combining with Stay Tuned, Talk US Tuesday,
Yep.
and Stay Tuned Live. We'll be combining for the NBA show. We will give our predictions on what we think is going to happen this upcoming NBA season. But since you're not on that show, Tricia Jordan, I would like to get your perspective of what you feel is going to happen this upcoming NBA season.
So I've already messaged you this and you don't think it's true, but I'm open to the conversation about it. I think it's gonna be Nets Lakers in the NBA finals. And it's not that I don't believe in the Bucks, but I just don't believe that it was, I don't think that they have it enough to repeat again. And I know that the Nets were also down players, right? So I think that the Nets can get to the NBA finals. The Lakers, they're putting together a super team. I mean, they're trying to have Rondo and Russell put away their beef. They're trying everything to put together a good squad that would win. Um, the only teams that I think may be a challenge to them would be Phoenix and maybe Dallas.
Nah, Dallas ain't no challenge.
But
I think it's more Denver.
Sorry, yeah. Yeah, Denver.
They got that Michael Porter Jr.
Well.
That Michael Porter Jr. I gotta say it like my brother said. That Michael
If
Porter
he's
Jr.
healthy. That's if he's healthy.
Yeah, that's the key thing, because he wasn't
Porter has injury history.
And then sorry, their point guard has a foot problem. What was it?
Jamal
Murray.
Murray.
Yeah.
Yep. And he needs to be healthy too.
And so who's left? Is it Jokic?
The Joker.
Jokic.
Yeah.
The
So
Joker
they didn't re-sign Austin Rivers, which I thought was
a mistake.
Crazy.
So
got JaVale McGee there though. I think he's still there, isn't he? My man, JaVale.
So
JaVale McGee. Yeah,
the health of Denver is very we have to see where they're at, right? I know. I don't. The only reason why I said Dallas is because of Luka. But I also think that it's really Phoenix to me. Really Phoenix. And I know Golden State is coming back, and I know that they have Steph Curry and homeboy. And they brought back Andre. They brought back Andre Iguodala, and Andrew Wiggins, if he gets the vaccine, will be active.
Draymond, don't forget Draymond still there.
And Draymond. So I mean, okay, Golden State, Phoenix is the two challenges that I think would be for the Lakers. But Denver, I'm very unsure, only because of the health reasons.
What?
Yeah.
I don't believe in Golden State no more.
Are you a believer in Luka actually?
Me?
No, I'm talking to Tricia Joy. Are you?
Okay.
I know how you feel about.
I thought you said, I was like, me, Luka
no,
Doncic.
I know how you feel.
Luka Garza, yes. Luka Doncic,
stop.
No.
Are you a believer, Tricia Joy, in Luka?
Okay. So I think that he does have the potential. There are some liabilities on his end, but I'm very curious to hear Dennis's opinion. I actually haven't heard that. Do you mind if I ask him, Sharon? I know you really.
Oh no.
I'm gonna tell you.
Give your opinion, Dennis.
I'm gonna tell you how this started.
In a synopsis.
I'm gonna tell you how this started. You remember on draft night, Luka was traded for Trae Young. That was the draft night trade. So I was talking to Divine Stanfield from a Fresh Perspective, and I was like, that's kind of an even trade right there, Luka and Trae Young. And he was like, no, it's not. Luka Doncic is way better than Trae Young. I'm like, well, he not way better. They both just franchise players. They good enough to take their team to the playoffs. Luka ain't doing nothing too much different. You know what I mean? He was like, no, Luka Doncic is way better than Trae Young. And so I'm like, all right, if he that much better, then he should be getting his team further. So Playoffs came up this year, and I every series I just kept saying, "There go Trae Young again." I wonder where's Luka. I just kept saying it every series.
Yeah.
Even when they played my Sixers, I kept saying it. There go that Trae Young again. And I just kept going with it. And you know, everybody was like, "Oh, Trae Young ain't better than Luka Doncic." Well, where the fuck Luka at? That's what I'm trying to figure out. Like, y'all, like, where the fuck is Luka? Because at the end of the day, you only as good as your last playoff performance. So where is he at? Because he was up 2-0 on the Clippers. I'm trying to figure this out.
Oh yeah, the Clippers. What do you thought on the Clippers? Sorry, I don't mean to make
Clippers will be a 7th seed this year.
Oh.
So wow. they will be in the play-in. I guess that's what it is.
Yeah.
The play-in.
I'm at least, even though you know how much I definitely hate the Clippers, I am going to at least give them credit then and say they'll be 5th. I wouldn't put them in 7th.
Well, you know,
I'll say 5th.
You know, street clothes number 2, Kawhi ain't playing. So.
Well, yeah.
Wait, Kawhi not playing?
I still.
No, he got that surgery. I think he out for the whole season.
Really?
He might be. Yeah, he might be. But I think even without him, that they will prove formidable, at least for a time, enough to make it in the 5th through 7th range. I don't believe that they're going to have to go to the play-in, which I hate. I can't stand the whole concept of play-in.
I'm not trying to make the side Jawn a sports show, but
it is.
Oh no! We're talking sports today. Today is sports day.
Is the word Jawn is a noun.
Oh, okay.
Person, place, or thing. So we do adventure in sports. You know, in my Tricia Joy voice, we don't just talk poly, okay? let's
That's what I kept saying. I'm like, I don't know anything about polygamy. I can't.
Right, we don't just talk poly here.
So riddle me this. When did this ACL tear happen?
I don't know. Don't get me the line. He might have had that ACL tear for 2 years or something. Don't get me the line.
Why would you? And I'm not. This is no offense to like Kawhi. I'm all about timing, right? We talk about timing this whole show,
right?
If the ACL wasn't torn in July,
it was. That's why he didn't play in those playoff games.
Remember he said
when they clinched to go to the conference finals for the first time in team history ever. Shout out to Tyronn Lue. When they clinched to do that, I think that was the game. I think Game 6 was his last game, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong.
Against Dallas, wasn't it against Dallas? I think it was against Dallas.
Oh well, then no, it wasn't Game 6. Then it was the series before that against Dallas. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So he didn't play the whole series against Utah.
That's right. He sure did.
Right. I remember that now. And the season ended late this year, right?
Yeah, because remember, people were bashing him because he wasn't sitting behind on the bench with the players. He was sitting all up in the top.
I bashed him for that. I was one.
Okay, well then this year is the time for Paul George to shine. Then
the whole season.
I believe Paul George is a franchise player. So he'll get his in the words of a franchise player, that means you have to be able to get your team to the playoffs. That's the goal of a franchise player. So
okay, so let's see if he does it. You know, I'm never gonna say a negative thing about Paul George. I thought he should have never left. He should have never left
Indiana.
He
should have never left Indiana, actually, but
right.
I think he should have never left OKC. I think if he stayed in OKC would probably be a lot farther than they are now. Obviously, but like I think Russell Westbrook, and one more piece that wasn't Carmelo Anthony would be like a legit, team. So it still hurts me to this day. I did a whole like comedy thing on it, right? Did I do that sketch about like when I heard? Listen.
When she heard that he was
Lord have mercy. Okay, Dennis.
Is that the one when you had the nightmare?
Devastated.
Yes.
And you walked out you jumped out the window, I think it is.
Yeah, I ran to church. Like
you went to the church and had all to the church. That's the one that when Donovan was introducing me, he was like, you gotta see Tricia Joy. So he showed me that video. He was like, You got to see
Right.
how creative she is. And I watched
That
the video. I was like, damn, she did all this by herself. And he was like, it's like, yeah, this is what I'm talking about. And I was like, damn.
you brought back that memory. I even forgot that I made that thing. Like, let me tell you, Dennis, when Paul George left OKC, they did it strategically. I think they did. They released that news. It must have been 2 a.m. in the morning because they know that OKC would probably riot in the streets, right? Right. So I'm on my phone trolling, right? I'm talking to 2MW, posting all these things, talking trash. Mind you, I just quit meat. I'm eating meat because I said that I'm going to stop eating meat for the whole season because I know that we're going to win the NBA finals. And that was just like me upping the stakes, right? That's another thing that I do in the group. If it's personal on me and people get to like laugh and have fun, I'll do it. So my thing was, I'm not eating meat till OKC wins an NBA championship, and they're gonna win it this year. I literally said that comment that night. I declared it on the wall, and I'm sitting on my phone like, oh shit, I don't know how I'm gonna stop eating meat for the rest of the year, but let's do it.
You did.
So wait, do you still not eat meat? Let me get that on.
I actually went back to eating meat this year, so I did it for 2 years straight. Like I stopped eating. I'm also a person of my word, so
yeah,
I like that.
She is.
You know, at the point the group came in and was like, Tricia, we're gonna let you get a pass on this bet. Like, we know that you know, we know you did it because Paul George is on the team. But I was like, listen, if I gotta not eat meat for the next 10 years till OKC trade those draft picks and get this, like, I was ready.
I don't. Now, here's my thing on it. I don't think y'all should trade those draft picks. Really? I actually think with those draft picks, y'all in a good position. With these up and coming players that I've been watching in high school and the things that's happening, y'all might be drafting another super team.
So Dennis, I would love after this show for you to give me like some clips of high schoolers that you think would be great, and I'm happy to do the research and do a whole special on that. Like, this is the 7th grader that we need to aim for. Look at how he carries his book bag that shows balance.
No, these guys are ballers. To be honest with you, I wanted to go to New York City on November 9th to go see Kentucky play Duke because I wanted to go see my guy Ty Washington, and I wanted to go see Paolo, who plays for Duke. Ty Washington plays for Kentucky. I watched a lot of these guys at the Allen Iverson Classic game. That's how I got to see, these up and coming ballers. I'm watching, it's 25 guys there. 12 of them are projected to be top 12 picks in the draft.
Yeah, so you know what? Send me the link because I'll come to the game if they're.
No, that game too expensive. They want like $500.
Really? Let me send me the link. Let me see.
And I ain't vaccinated, so
send me the link.
All right. I definitely will.
You told me soon. You promised.
Yeah, soon.
Man, I ain't gonna talk about it. Let me read some of these comments, folks. Let me read some of the comments. So Joshua Bailey said the Bucks just took advantage of the opportunity, and he said the Warriors will make some noise. Tavai Thomas said LA has ego and age against them. Yeah. OG said this is interesting info he's hearing. And Josh said the Warriors are better than the Clippers. Well, we all know that. Josh. And Josh said he definitely shouldn't have left Indy. He was talking about Paul George. And TJ is definitely talented. And your boy, Mr. Hargrove, said those beautiful ladies on the show are outshining that Philly dude. You know, they're gonna always have something to say about you, Dennis. You know how that is. Yeah, so that's the comments.
Yeah, I can't wait. I can't wait to see what Paul George does out of that respect. But let's.
When he said TJ, he talking about Tricia Joy.
Oh yeah, TJ, Tricia Joy, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, I thought he was like. I was like, TJ Warren, where is he? Right?
Oh, he's talking about you.
Yeah.
Talking about you.
But yeah, Paul George, this is his year to shine. He's not gonna win no NBA championship, I tell you that, but I'm definitely rooting for him. He's another player that I feel like got the short end of the stick from a marketing standpoint. And I'm not going to say it's all not his fault. Some of it is, but like some of it I think is like, I think it's over the top. I think we selectively pick who we're going to support and not. And, you know, Paul George has had the shoulder injuries and the shoulder surgeries, and they've been at inopportune times. So, and he broke his whole leg, you know, like a lot of this.
I gotta look who's on that Clippers roster.
Yeah, let me pull it up.
They might be more eighth because I'm still heavily favored in Memphis. I'm gonna have to say that. I'm still heavily favored in Memphis.
Memphis is coming along well. Man. They're doing it the right way. They're growing it.
Yeah,
that's what I would say.
So the Clippers have Paul George, Reggie Jackson, Serge Ibaka, Marcus Morris. Those are the top three.
Okay, they got
very inconsistent players.
Luke Kennard, but he's not. But you know, and they have Eric Bledsoe, do they?
Yeah,
they got him. They got him in the off season.
Wow. So wait, the Bucks didn't keep him?
Nope.
No, the Bucks remember got rid of Eric Bledsoe. I don't think Eric Bledsoe
was gone. Team. I think he was gone 2 seasons ago, wasn't he?
Yeah, he wasn't even on the championship team.
Wait, who am I mixing it up? Oh, you know who I'm mixing him up with? Drew Holiday. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. Drew's still up there.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, this is not a team to be scared of without Kawhi. And you know, Kawhi's not going to play a full season. Like he's very
he's injured, so I don't even know when he's coming back.
Well, I mean, even healthy though, he's not going to play a full season.
Yeah, well, I only give him about 50 games. I only give Embiid about 60 games.
Right. So. Let me pull up the Western Conference.
That's why I was upset about the whole Andre Drummond situation.
What Andre Drummond is where now?
He's now with the Sixers.
Oh, wasn't he on LA for like 15 minutes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they didn't re-sign him.
So why are you upset that he's in on the Sixers?
Because he don't shoot free throws well.
No.
And I would rather have Robin Lopez.
Interesting.
I think Robin Lopez would be a better fit with that team too than he would.
Or they could have drafted Luka Garza. Shit.
Robin.
I like Luka Garza.
Okay. So is it because you have you have Ben Simmons that's not good? Like what about he obviously is in the paint, so he'll get fouled a lot, but like there is some upside to him, right? So
you seen it? I'm just asking you. Have you seen it?
I feel like he's good for a double-double. Don't you need that?
Who is?
Andre Drummond.
Andre Drummond. He's good for a double-double, right? 10-10.
I didn't see that last year with the Lakers.
I didn't see that with the Lakers. Not the time he was there.
I just seen the guy.
He had sparks in some games, but not enough games. He was wildly inconsistent.
Right. And so do you think it's the end of Dennis?
He did more damage, I felt, than he helped. He was slightly better than Marc Gasol. Slightly. And he still wasn't good enough to remain on the team, in my opinion. So I agreed with them not signing him. I didn't want them to sign him from the beginning. Him or Marc Gasol. I thought they were both a mistake.
So he's on his 9th year? 10th year? 9th year. So he's getting up there. Here's my thing. For the Lakers, I'm not really sure if his style of play is what they need, right? He seems to be like a player that would be good in like a half court set. And maybe like the Lakers don't run that kind of offense. I could be talking like, a miss talk because I don't watch a lot of Lakers like games to recognize their plays, but knowing the style that LeBron and them play, they seem like more of a running team, and I don't know if he's that, you know.
Mhm.
On Detroit, he was averaging on Detroit, he was a double-double. On the Lakers, he was a double-double. I'm looking at his stats now, right? On the Cavaliers, he was 17 and 13, right? On the Lakers, he was 11 and 10, but like it could just be the style of play. He could be great for you guys.
It's his
Or
style
you
of
can give him
play.
hope.
He doesn't.
I see
He's not a
what
good fit.
I see what you mean now about the players that people doubt. You give them more hope. I see it now. I'm seeing
No,
it.
I'm just thinking like if he was averaging 17 points on the Pistons, right?
That's as a
Maybe
full time. That was as a full time starter. He ain't a full time starter for Philadelphia.
you don't. Okay, so let me ask you a question then. Andre Drummond and Embiid on the same team doesn't like get you excited?
No, because Embiid said he owns real estate in Andre Drummond's head.
He does. They're not. They don't get along. First of all,
Okay,
they
so
hate each other.
this is like a precursor to the show that I'm gonna have on Monday concerning Joel Embiid. Did he really say that? Like, or
Yeah,
when did
It
he
was
say
tight.
that?
He typed it. It was tight. I'm putting it like that
it
on the
was
social
tweeted
media.
Recently?
No, this was years ago. Maybe
years
like
ago.
2
Okay.
years ago.
So
But he's still continued poking at him throughout
yeah,
the time since then on
this is
social media.
this is the time for growth on Joel Embiid's side.
I agree.
Because having
Past
twin
due.
having towers is hard to come by, and having effective towers is like both of the towers be contributors is also hard to come by. And if he's anything that he was back on the Cavaliers, forget the Lakers. The Lakers have to run a specific offense to make things grow for LeBron. If they can figure out a way to incorporate Andre Drummond in the Sixers offense, this is crazy to me, right? This is gonna be a good squad because no one has the twin towers, right? That is leverage.
And I agree with you, Tricia. But can we really count on the maturity and growth of Joel Embiid? Can we count
Well,
on
wait.
that?
Why y'all
Is
talking
that
about
going to
his
be a
maturity and
guarantee?
growth? That's what I'm trying to figure out. This is
Because Dennis, Tricia is right. Joel needs to grow up in a lot of ways. And I'm a Joel Embiid fan.
I'm trying to
Okay.
figure out when. Okay, I'm gonna say
His
this.
behavior is very immature in a lot of ways. He continues to make missteps in the public, making statements that he should not be saying in the public about teammates and others. He's not the only one that does it. So I'm not saying that he's the only one that I feel this way about. But there's a certain way that you handle yourself and a certain way you don't. And Joel, he tends to do those things. And Tricia and I discussed that already. He
Yeah.
tends to do things and say things that he ought not do. He is a fantastic player. And I've said many times, if he would get serious about his craft the way he should do in his conditioning and his practice and his free throws, those three things, if he would do those three things, Joel has the skill and ability to be the best player, the number one player in the league.
And he
I've
almost
been
was the
saying
MVP.
that 5 years,
He
but
was
he won't
almost the
4 years, but
MVP
he won't.
last year.
Right. And he won't, it's like a switch. It's one little switch that he will not turn on.
Well,
And
I
that's
can't
what we're
say
waiting on.
I can't say that. I'm gonna have to
I can
say.
say it.
All right, I'm going to have to say this. When Ben Simmons was injured and we was in a bubble and we lost to Boston 4-0, One of the number one things that we kept that me and my brothers kept saying that Joel Embiid needed to incorporate in this game was court vision. He had no court vision. Once he got double teamed, he couldn't get rid of the ball, and that's what Boston kept doing. They kept double teaming him every time he get the ball. So
and
he
when
came
you
out
said
this season
it on our show, I agree with you 100%.
Yeah, he came out this season just passed, and he got his court vision together and got better at it. And was in the MVP voting, but he missed too many games, so they didn't. It wasn't given to him. It was given to the Joker. But he was up there. Like he's worked on his game year in and year out, and he's getting better. But I'm with him. If I'm working on my game and you not, I am gonna say something about you. And if I say something about you in the media and you feel some type of way, then I could be that same person to go back and apologize. But just because I said something about you and you're my teammate is because I'm frustrated that we sitting here at this point and we should be somewhere that we should be in a championship.
I understand all of that, but there's still a way that you communicate that without throwing your teammate directly and publicly under the bus.
I think he probably
there is a way to do it. That's what I'm saying. There is a way to do it, and there's a way you don't. And it's fine if you choose the way that he did. It's not unusual. Like I said, he's not the only one that's done it. It happens all the time, right? It happens all the time. Right. But when you do that, then you have to accept the blowback from it. You can't then blame the other person if they feel salty about what you said in public, even if you're right. There's a way that you do it.
Yeah, I don't.
Shout out to Mike Tomlin. He will tell you that in a minute. And that's why, to me, Mike Tomlin is the best press conference performer in the game of sports, because he will not, even though he knows he needs to blame that player right there, he's not going to do it in public. You keep that stuff in-house. You say you're disappointed. You say, we did not perform. We did not execute. I'm frustrated because we were this close, yada, yada, yada. And then you can tear them up behind the scenes if you want to. But that's not what you do. We all rag on Ben Simmons. He was touted to be the next LeBron James, and look at what he's been doing over the past, going into the 6th year. Look at what he's been doing.
He don't listen.
So I mean, I get it, and I'm not saying that he was wrong in his assessment. Ben Simmons was the key reason why they didn't win. Yes, he was. But if you're gonna say that, you big and bad and frustrated enough to say it, then you're gonna take the blowback from it. And if the blowback is, well, I'm Ben Simmons, and even though your team wants me to come back, and you saying they saying come back, I ain't coming back because of you, because of what you said. That's what he's gonna do. You got to be willing to accept that.
He the reason lost out on his 25% increase in his money. I ain't got nothing to do with that. If you don't want to come back, then don't come back. But at the end of the day, I don't think they got nothing to do with you not going to play in the Olympics. That sounds like a personal choice. I don't think
no, it is. They listen. You'd be surprised, right? I couldn't believe it when they were like, well, why would he go to the Olympics when he know he got to learn how to make a jump shot? Like, that was a big thing, right? And
people were saying that instead of going to the Olympics, you need to be in the gym working on your jump shot this summer. Yeah, they did say it. And actually, commentators said it on TV. They said it from the broadcast booth.
I don't want to hear about that work on your jump shot during the summer. You got
I don't either.
I see these every summer. I'm watching on Instagram every summer, playing against a bunch of Uber drivers, taking all these shots. Every summer, I'm watching the same thing. Game time,
right?
He may take 10 threes in the season, and that be it. And you be like, "What? I just take the shot. I'd rather you take the shot."
We get it, and I'm definitely not defending Ben Simmons. Trust me.
If anything, I want you to work on the most is your free throws. If there's anything I want you to work on the most is your free throw shoot. And it's crazy how teammates was taking up for him. Like when he did the spin move on Herter, and he was wide open for a dunk, and he passed the ball to Matisse Thybulle, who wasn't wide open, And everybody looked at him like, why you ain't just take the dunk? And Thibault was like, well, the play before that, I was open, so he just came down and did the same thing and gave me the ball. Knowing damn well that wasn't the right answer, but Thibault still took up for him. And like I'm saying, to me, it was just
Dennis, like I said to you pre-show,
it's too much of coddling this ball.
I'm willing to do all the pre-work watching the video to see where you guys are coming from, because I'm not the type of person not try to see both sides. At the end of the day, though, what you're describing to me seems like all the passes you gave to early LeBron. LeBron used to always pass the ball. He always used to pass up shots that he shouldn't take, right? But the train was behind him. Everybody was like, okay, pro LeBron. They believed in him. So I always wonder, like, what does it take for you to give someone the pass? And Ben Simmons is only in year 4, just coming out of year 4, and we're already damning him. You know, like if he's still shook on some nip, you know. On some tip in year 6, 7, right? That's when you come into your ultimate prime. Then I understand, but maybe he is going through something right now.
But a lot of people are looking at the situation, but by then it's too late. You know why a lot of people are upset? Because they feel as though that the Sixers should have won 2 or 3 championships by now. That's why a lot of people are upset.
Listen, y'all condition yourselves to what was the term? Something to process.
Right. Trust the process.
No. But we trusted the process. The pieces was there
to get the team.
But you know, we didn't make the move to win those games. So then they said, "Oh, you know what? It was Brett Brown." Even though I still think we could have won that championship with Jimmy Butler, you know, with Brett Brown. So you know, okay, it was Brett Brown. So then this year we got Doc Rivers, and you know, all the cards set up right. You know, the Nets was not the number 1 seed. We had home field advantage. You know, we just beat the Wizards. We're going to play Atlanta. Atlanta comes out game 1, shoots the lights out the gym. The living lights out the gym in Philadelphia. Shoots the lights out the gym to let you know this ain't going to be an easy series. Game 5 and game 6, we up by 20-plus points in both of those games. The veteran leadership of Lou Williams, which a lot of people ain't gonna never say, okay, by Lemon Pepper Lou, and and the rest of Atlanta made a comeback. And I got to give a shout out to Rashawn, because he always say being up 20 in the NBA don't mean nothing.
It doesn't.
It don't mean nothing.
Like
it's all in the NBA. It's all about runs. I got to give that shout out to Rashawn. It's all about runs. And you got to make sure that you can dominate during those runs, because your run is coming.
Well, listen. Ben Simmons regressed last year. All his stats were down, all of them. And that is a fact. I'm looking at his stats right now. That's a fact that nobody wants to talk about. But what you need to look at is why. And then when Embiid came out with the only reason why they got rid of Jimmy Butler was because of Ben.
Right.
That opened up this whole can of worms. Huh?
It was Ben and Brett.
Well,
Joel,
it was mainly Ben, is what Joel said.
And again,
but see, a lot of people weren't sold that Jimmy Butler was the key.
You see, Jimmy Butler is that other player on that
we can't mention around Tricia. I'm sorry, I forgot.
But you already let it out. I'm sorry.
Then it's that your fault.
You can't talk about Jimmy Butler either.
No. Joel.
Hey Josh, write that one down. Give me buckets. Put him in the list.
So just to recap, or just to clarify, Sharon, Embiid actually said the reason why we traded Jimmy Butler was
because of him. Yes, there is a quote. Well, let me put it this way. There is a quote being floated around as if it was true, that he actually said it. I have not seen the quote, because you know how people make up quotes and do these memes. I have not seen the quote on a reliable source's page that this is what he said, nor have I heard it on a video or anything. I'm just saying I've seen that being featured. It's into 2MW, actually. I think somebody posted it in 2MW if I'm not getting the groups all mixed up, because I look out at all of them every day. That he said that.
Okay, so question before I move on. Dennis, do you believe that?
I believe it, but is the reason why I believe it is because your beloved Brooklyn native JJ Redick has a podcast, and he had Jimmy Butler on the podcast, and they were talking about things that were going on in Philadelphia that did not make sense to them. And
what did he say? I just want to be informed before I like.
And one of the things that Jimmy Butler was saying was more so about coaching, and he was saying that it was the coaching, it was things that were said there was things that were said to him by the coaches that did not make sense. And the one time he went and he stood up and he said something, now he's considered the bad guy.
Right. Because he was the only one that would speak up about whatever that was.
What was going on? Like he said, they would go in the film room and nobody would say nothing. It'd just be a bunch of clicking, click,
right,
click, click, and Jimmy Butler was like, "Well, I just got here, so I'm looking at JJ like, well, what the fuck is going on here? Like, ain't nobody gonna say nothing. We just click, click, click. That's it." And then we just left. And I'm like, and he said, I pulled JJ aside like, "Why are we here?"
Mm-hmm. He talked about two things in that interview, mainly coaching and culture. And that was a part of the culture he didn't understand. What nobody was engaged with the film. Coach would be clicking and explain it. Nobody would have questions to ask. Nobody said anything about that. Nobody disagreed or agreed. They just were quiet.
And the only person that said something,
he said he's not used to that.
Right. And the only person that said something about it later was TJ McConnell. So when Jimmy went off, he mentioned what TJ McConnell said, and JJ was like, "Well, you kind of threw TJ under the bus." He was like, "I didn't throw him under the bus. It was a conversation that we had, and I just was bringing it to the light."
Right.
Why you got to bring conversation to the light?
Because it was something that what he was trying to say is it's not something that needs to be said in the dark. It's something that needs to be said on practice so we can get better.
Okay, so I'm gonna say this, and I don't want to I don't want to be a negative person, so I'm trying to be very calculated with how I say it. Jimmy Butler being traded away from the Sixers and blaming Ben Simmons, to me, does not add up. Because at the end of the day, these are businesses and they make the best business move. If Jimmy Butler was a better fit for the team, or Ben Simmons did not belong, they would not be keeping him here. They would not be asking him to come back. That's just from a non-emotional thing. Like, they're out for the best fit, right? Jimmy Butler, this is getting into my Jimmy Butler thing. You have to understand, Jimmy Butler has been on before going to Miami, was on 4 different teams. Every team got the problem, but not him.
Oh, 3. It was 3. Yeah, it was 3.
Every team got the problem, but him.
Only reason I'm going to say yes is because let's think about it. The Bulls haven't been the same since. Minnesota has not made the playoffs. Philadelphia hasn't gotten over the hump. He goes to Miami in one season and gets to the championship. Now,
in the COVID. You call
it what you want. You could,
right?
At the end of the day, LeBron still got 4, right? We still say LeBron got 4?
Yeah.
Then we're going to say Jimmy went to 1, okay? That's how we're going to do that.
He went.
Now, if you want to say LeBron got 3 with an asterisk, then we'll say Jimmy went to 1 with an asterisk. We're going to have to put those in the same category now.
I just want to link this back to, like, transition in business. You think that if a team gets rid of a player that they genuinely want to have as a huge figure or a centerpiece in their organization, that they're not going to have some issues when they release said player? Like you think that when they release, when he leaves the Bulls, they're just gonna, all right, Jimmy's gone, yay, that's what we needed, right? When he was the centerpiece for on that organization, same thing with Minnesota, same thing with the Sixers. Do you not think that there would be some kind of negative fallback to having that? Adding him to a team is not like your point about him going to Miami, they would have changed. Of course, if you add a great player to a team, you're going to see results. But when you subtract the great player, you think that you'd see great results?
So Jimmy Butler is a great player. Let's get that.
No, I'm asking, if you subtract the player that you build they literally trade to build around him, and then you remove him and you leave the parts that's supposed to be around him, you think that they're just gonna fix themselves in a way and just be great without him?
There are some teams that do come back from that and still end up being good,
but they only do it by adding other pieces, by shifting out and adding back in.
Right.
They only do that then.
Right.
And see, Chicago didn't do much of that when he left.
Right. They had
do
bad,
much of that.
That's at the end of the day, that was a bad GM. He ended up getting fired, and that which messed up the organization. You go to Minnesota.
I agree with that. I agree.
Minnesota, he felt as though Andrew Wiggins was soft. He felt as though Cat was soft.
Mm-hmm.
That organization has not done anything since Kevin Garnett was there.
Right.
I just want to add on that situation, because it's the same thing that happens in Philly, but you're not acknowledging it.
Yeah, we got a bad organization. Let me say that publicly. We got a bad organization. Keep going through GMs, Colangelo, Sam Hinkie, and all that. Trust and processes, missing out on good things. A bad coach in Brett Brown, and he left that situation. Now he's in Miami. Nobody never says nothing about Miami's GM situation. Eric Spoelstra is already considered a certified coach. He gets there and he goes right to the finals. Sorry
about cutting you off.
You are. Go ahead.
I have to add the layer that we're not putting on, which is the environment at which each of the organizations have. Jimmy Butler goes into Minnesota and they're soft, right? Mind you, Cat is on his way up. He's one of the top players. Andrew Wiggins finally has a home. He's on the way up. Jimmy Butler comes in and everybody regresses.
I don't know.
Right? No. There's documentation. There's documentation and articles written about the regression of Cat and the regression of Andrew Wiggins. Him coming to the environment. And remember, everybody thought Chicago was a toxic place because of the coach. What's his name?
Tom Thibodeau.
Thibodeau, right? So you got this player that has a certain temperament, that grew up in a certain culture, coming to a new team, not adjusting, right? Everybody's been there. They have a system. All these players are great before he got there, but he needs he's and mind you, he had a different upbringing. Remember, he grew up away from his family. He had a hard life. He came in with that temperament, and it was hard for him to adjust to that. Boom. He lasts like a year, right? A year. They trade him over to the 76ers. You have an up-and-coming Embiid, an up-and-coming Ben Simmons, and what the first, I had to pull up the article while you were reading. It says, I don't know who the fuck is the leader around here. No. Coming again with the hardness, right? First, he comes in and he does it. He needs to know this. He needs to know that. And everything is just hard. I don't want to use the word toxic because I don't know. But he comes in again. And you go to Philly, Miami, who was with a Pat Riley. Right now, the Miami LeBron leaves Miami because of several things he didn't like with that organization, and one of the things was the way that Pat Riley treated him and the organization. Jimmy Butler's suddenly right at home, huh?
Because one thing,
you
I'm gonna tell you why. Because one thing about Jimmy Butler, he appreciates hard work. He's a hard working dude. And one thing
listen,
about Pat Riley's a hard working coach. I remember the quote from Chris. I can't remember his name. Is it Kanan? I think he got drafted right after LeBron. Chris Kanan got drafted right after LeBron. He went to the Clippers. And the first thing, no, he got my fault. He got drafted right after Dwayne Wade. Sorry about that. He got drafted right after Dwayne Wade. First thing he said to Dwayne Wade was, "Thank God I ain't going to Miami because they work hard over there."
Mm-hmm.
The first thing he said to him.
Listen, we're talking about the NBA. You don't think Cat averaging 20 points a game is working hard?
Well, I said Chris Kanan. That's what I was talking
I'm talking about.
I ain't saying Cat don't work hard.
Yeah,
I just say I don't think the Cat is a franchise player. I don't think Andrew Wiggins is a franchise player.
Well, there's a difference between working hard and being soft or hard or tough. Soft or tough, I'll say. There's a difference between that. You can work hard and still be a soft player.
Just like a lot of
I'm
people.
not saying that I'm not saying that I'm agreeing. I'm not saying that I'm agreeing with Dennis, and I'm not saying I'm agreeing with Tricia. All I'm pointing out is that there is a difference between being a soft player and a hard worker. And you can be soft and be a hard worker at the same time. Because when the only thing that I will say about what Jimmy Butler was saying was that their heart was soft. They were not tough when you needed to find that switch to turn it on. Wiggins and Cat wouldn't turn it on, and it frustrated him. And in practice, where you need to do all the dirty work and the grunt work in the practice, they wouldn't do it. They didn't want to do it. They would be pushed to do it, and they would complain. Coach is being too hard on us. That was the quote. I remember. He's being too hard on us. He's banging us too much. It's too much. And he thought that was soft because he went to Marquette. I know how they do it, Marquette. Marquette is not, at the time when he came through and D Wade came through, it was not a kumbaya, Phil Jackson type of coaching staff. Mm-mm. It was more Pat Riley style.
They work hard.
I agree with you.
That's all I'm offering. I'm not saying I'm agreeing or disagreeing with what you said, what Tricia said, because I agree with a lot with what Tricia is saying. But there are some things that I agree with what Dennis is saying too.
This is the key that's connecting what you said and what Dennis said to what I said. The reason Jimmy Butler was brought there was to be a leader, to help these people along. This shows he is incapable of leading a team himself. Because part of doing that is bringing along the people that need that help. He was brought to lead him, like, I'm not saying immature, young players like Cat and Andrew Wiggins, Embiid, young-minded, Ben Simmons, young-minded, and what these teams thought they were bringing along was a player that was going to help bring that out of these players. He, maybe it was a miscommunication, thought he was coming to a thing where this kind of grit is ready-made. They misinterpreted what Jimmy Butler's purpose or what he thought he was brought there for. In Miami, who's he leading? Tyler Hero?
How about Bam Adebayo? A guy that came out of nowhere and became all-star. All-star caliber.
Backed up Bam.
Yeah, Bam Adebayo. As of right now, if we talking, Bam Adebayo is the top 5 center in the league. Bam Adebayo wasn't top 5 center in the league before Jimmy got there.
But when did he get there? How many years was Bam playing when Jimmy got there?
I don't know how many years the Bam was in the league.
Bam has been in the league for 4 years.
Yeah, it was like two.
So they've been together for 2 years.
Right, the guy was on his second year. He's a giraffe with the baby legs when he got there. Like,
So wait a minute. Wait. So Bam Adebayo becomes an all-star. but that's not a credit to Jimmy Butler.
Hell no, that's credited to Bam.
Okay.
Wait.
So
Okay,
Jimmy
wait.
Butler
Wait a
going to
minute.
Miami, and Miami goes to the championship.
You think
That has
Wait a
hold
minute.
on. That has nothing to do with Jimmy Butler's leadership.
I said
I
they
gotta
had a COVID year.
I gotta
LeBron. Same COVID year LeBron won the championship. Now we calling that a COVID year too, because you got to put them together.
I gotta interject. Dennis, you are the same person that was saying that the Phoenix rise had to do with CP3.
Yeah.
And what did I tell you? It wasn't due to CP3.
But this
only.
but
It wasn't mainly due to CP3, and it definitely wasn't only due to CP3's presence that they elevated when they were already elevating. It wasn't.
Well, Miami
So
wasn't.
how I don't understand how you can say that Bam's improvement was due to Jimmy being there.
Well, because she
I
just
don't
said
see that.
she expected.
I see no evidence of that.
She was saying she expected Cat and Embiid and Wiggins and Simmons to all improve while Jimmy being there.
No.
And then she said,
no. Hold it. Time out. She didn't say that she expected. She said that's what the teams expected him to do.
My fault. Teams expected. I'm sorry.
Right. They expected.
So then her next comment was, who did he improve in Miami? Tyler Hero.
Yeah, right, that was her question.
Yeah.
And I said Bam Adebayo.
But my question to you is, what evidence of that?
She said Tyler Hero. I said Bam Adebayo. I gave her a guy.
No, she was asking with sarcasm in her voice. Who did he improve? Tyler Hero.
And with sarcasm coming back, Bam Adebayo.
And then you said Bam Adebayo, right, and I'm asking you, what evidence do you have that he was the reason?
Listen. I don't have no evidence that nobody improved with Jimmy. I do have evidence that the Miami Heat with Jimmy Buckets became a championship caliber team. I do have that evidence.
I agree with that.
That's all I got.
Does not, for me, you're right. I agree. He improved Miami, but that still doesn't have anything to do with his prior journeys with the other three teams. To me, it's a whole separate issue. And it's not indicative of what happened previously. That's where I'm at. I take his time on each team separately. And when I'm looking at it, he seemed to be a problem. You know, other sports analysts have talked about Jimmy. And they talked about the way he seemed to be a problem or an issue when he was on the other three teams. And then when he got to Miami, he did seem to improve it to a certain degree in other ways. I, for one, do not equate the elevation of Adebayo on Jimmy. I saw it in him from the beginning already. And I believe, this is what I believe what really made Bam improve was Joel Embiid. Talking crap and getting in his crap every time they played is what improved Bam, because Embiid basically manhandled him the first couple times they played and kicked his butt in the paint. Then Pat Riley, I don't know if you know, got in his ear about his predecessor, who they shipped off to Portland. Tell me his name. I forgot his name now.
Whiteside?
Yep. About his predecessor and the issues they had with him and the switch he just would not turn on, and said, you don't want to be another Whiteside and be shipped out. That message did not necessarily come from the coach. You know who that came from?
Who?
Our boy that's still been playing there 15 years, that has a roster spot that don't even play but 15 minutes a year.
Udonis Haslem.
Udonis Haslem.
The assistant coach on the floor.
That's right. And see, you know, I follow Miami almost as close as I follow the Lakers. So this is what I'm telling you. So I'm saying this to say, I have to put a pause on this Jimmy Butler improved Bam thing. But I do indeed feel like with the makeup of that team, he did improve Miami. But that does not take away what Tricia has been saying about him that happened at the other teams. I think both is right. Both of you are right in several ways.
Yeah,
That's how I see.
we only going. I mean, like Damon Hargrove, the sports guru, he was saying um that all in Minnesota that also had to do with coaching, which the coach at the time was Tom Thibodeau, which I didn't understand how that was even a situation because he was the same coach when he was with Chicago. But then I started to think
Right.
about it. You know, I just really think that Minnesota is just a messed up organization because Tom Thibodeau went to another messed up organization, which is the New York Knicks, and took them to the playoffs with Julius Randle as the
There's
franchise
so
player.
many. Sorry to talk over you, Dennis. There's so many variables every year that come with performance, so it's hard to just make a firm quote. And I'll say this, like, Dennis, there may be like things that you're right about with this situation that, like, I'll acknowledge that it's there. I'm not saying Jimmy Butler isn't a great player. I'm just saying that we have to look at just in a common sense thing, like, typically speaking, you're being shifted from team to team, right? And every shift is a situation where you don't believe people are working hard, or you don't believe that they're pushing everything to the limit. And then you get to a team finally and it works. It could be that the environment of the Miami Heat, like Sharon said, it could be that he realized, yo, I have to make some changes in myself because I can't just keep switching teams. I've heard some good things about Jimmy Butler in Miami when coming into practice and joking with the team. There are good things that they heard you hear about that happened in COVID, all that stuff. Everybody learns a lesson, right? I would bet that Jimmy Butler learned, yo, I shouldn't even talk harsh about my players from Minnesota. Damn, I came into Philly and started disrespecting the management and they shipped my ass right out of here. You got to Miami, he got 2 teams of learnings. Like, look, I'm not going to pull this, here, I got to make some changes. I believe that he made some personal changes himself too, to be able to thrive in that environment. It just wasn't taken as it is Jimmy Butler,
Yeah. He became a different player at Miami. And Dennis, I know I mentioned that on Talk Your Ish one time, what a different player he seems to be. He didn't seem to be a different person, not just player, but person. He did seem to be different. He seemed to really care about those young boys on the team.
Right.
Too. And he definitely respected Spoelstra. And of course he respected Pat Riley, because Pat Riley is not going to have it any other way on his team. That's just the way it is. That's why Whiteside is not there. Even though he had talent, he's gone because he did not respect the management the way he should.
One last thing about Minnesota, and it's just really quick because I don't have the proof. I like to say things with proof. I feel like the things with Minnesota, the situation with Minnesota was very early in his transition, but very raw coming out of what like Chicago. You have to understand that players over time, just like us as people, we go through this maturity phase. And I believe coming out of Chicago, he was still on his ego trip. I think the problem that happened in Minnesota wasn't Minnesota, but the fact that him and Wiggins pretty much had the same numbers. So then it becomes who's priority over who, right? So how you stand somebody up is, hey, I'm not only getting the same numbers, but I'm a harder worker. I'm a leader, right? All of that goes above and beyond, because really Cat regressed, but a lot of his targets, or a lot of it, what it seemed in the media was that it was his being heads with Andrew Wiggins, right? And Andrew Wiggins is a soft temperament kid. He's always been soft temperament. So what's the fight? To me, the fight is, look at the numbers. This is the guy I got to compete against.
Well, to me, Andrew Wiggins was always that quiet 20 guy And I used to
What?
say this. I used to say this about what's the guy who played for the Bucks, number 22 right now?
Milton?
Milton. I used to say this about
Yeah,
Milton.
yeah.
I used to say he was a quiet 20, but
Right.
this playoff series, he came out and showed his clutch gene and started balling harder and actually became a two. For well, actually, I'm no, I'm gonna say some games he was the one. I'm gonna keep it real. Some games he
Hmm.
was the one. Going over there with Giannis.
Right.
Because he had to. He had to. He had to
Right.
Yeah, he
step
had
up
to
and
take
do it.
those tough shots. He
So
had to
yeah,
win those
But let me
games.
tell you, that belief that Giannis put in him elevated him, and he let that be known.
right. Right.
He
And
let that be known.
that's important. So me going to
Hmm.
him going to Minnesota, I thought was this ego thing because you really have to compete against Andrew Wiggins. Andrew Wiggins is quiet. He's quiet. And if you come in as a leader, you have the emotional intelligence to know who's the quiet guy, who's the strong guy, who's the loud guy, and make it work. And Jimmy Butler coming out of Chicago maybe didn't have that emotional intelligence. He just thought they were soft or they didn't, right? But perhaps
Right.
that was the problem there. He gets shipped out to the Philly, and the least expressive thing a person, Andrew Wiggins, tweets, "Thank God," right?
Yep.
Because he's probably been running ragged,
Right. He's probably tired of being bullied in practice by the dude.
right. And so,
And Wiggins, can I please say something else about Wiggins?
right.
You got to remember, Dennis, this is the same dude that was drafted by Cleveland and shipped out because LeBron James said he'd rather have Kevin Love. And I'm telling you, just like people want to say that Kwame Brown never got past the treatment that he got at the Wizards by Michael Jordan and them, which I think is a crock of crap. I still do.
Mm.
I believe that Wiggins, that effect has haunted him and chased him through his whole career.
Yeah.
The fact that LeBron, the man, did not want to play with him. I think it got into his psyche. I think it's still there. Because when Wiggins was drafted number what?
1.
I thought that this was one of the most talented college basketball players I had ever seen in a while. And I'm a big Wiggins fan from college. And then he gets drafted and then shipped out. I was like, he picked Kevin Love. I thought Kevin was okay, but to say you wanted him over him,
yeah,
the gifts, Wiggins was more gifted and talented than Kevin Love ever could dream of being, as far as I'm concerned, when he was raw and came into the league. If they had put the time in him then, it would have been amazing, the growth and development that dude would have had if he had been allowed to play under LeBron and learn from the dude and get some kahunas about himself. But no, that ain't what he wanted. So he got shifted off. And I'm not saying that LeBron was right or wrong. I'm not saying that. So I know we got Damon in the comments, and I'm not looking at the comments right now. So I hope he doesn't take this as criticism of LeBron, because this is not about him. I am just saying I believe that situation might have stayed in his head more than we realize, because now he's over at Golden State and still being kind of reserved. And the dude is bad. He is skilled, well skilled. And
right.
he's much more skilled than he's demonstrating in his career. That's my issue with Wiggins. And I've been on record saying that in 2MW for years.
Yeah. I think that there's a lot, but the conversation basically is just saying that there are a lot of variables in what ultimately happens at the end when it comes to the NBA. And I'm not going to discredit Jimmy Butler for being a positive for that team. It's just that some other people on that team might deserve credit as well. Bam might have worked on his own game. There are a host of other things that could have happened to make Bam better, but I'm not just going to say Jimmy Butler is the cause just because coincidentally he's on the same team with him, and then he happened to get better with the entrance. I look at all the variables. So To all the people listening, this was not me shitting on Jimmy Butler. But it's just looking at this from a wide perspective, like, you know, Jimmy Butler, everyone has a point or a flaw or issue in this whole thing. I've never played an NBA game, so I'm not saying I know everything, but yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, that was good conversation though. Good breakdown, good points of view. And even when we differ, this is how you discuss sports. So that's why I posted it on in our group. We're doing a clinic on how to debate sports. No trolling, just debate.
Yeah.
This is what makes this type of conversation. I mean, it feeds my soul. I love talking sports with people. Love just talking with you. Sometimes Tricia and I would just get in a chat and just talk sports.
Yeah.
We're not talking emotion, hair, makeup, clothes. We're not discussing weight. We're not discussing politics, being black, being a black woman. None of that. We're just talking sports because we love it. And there's nothing wrong with being a chick who digs sports. Love it. That's another shout out to chicks who dig sports. That's another group I'm in. And I just nothing wrong with that. But speaking of chicks, I do want to move on to another topic because I know we've been here for a while and we're gonna have to try to wrap it up soon. But I cannot, and I would be remiss if I did, end this show without mentioning the WNBA. I try to mention the WNBA on nearly every show I'm on, because not only because I enjoy the league, but because I feel like I have a responsibility as a woman to do so.
Mm-hmm.
So, do you have a WNBA like favorite team or favorite player? What about the WNBA do you like, Tricia? We can talk about the negative stuff some other time, but what do you like about it? And do you have a favorite player or a team?
I actually have a favorite. So she's retired, but I like obviously Cheryl Swoops, all the beginners, all the ones that started the league in the beginning. Those are my favorites.
Cynthia Cooper, Cheryl Swoops, yeah, Lisa Leslie.
Taurasi though is a dog, man. She's gangster. She's pretty, like, you know.
And not to cut you off, but she just had her career high 37 points the other night in the playoff game.
Right.
Yeah. I remember when she was in college, I used to watch her and I was like, damn, she's so focused. Like, I wish I had that kind of focus when I played basketball. You see me, so you know how I was as a basketball player, right? But like, she was so serious about it, and up until this day, like, you know, I think her presence, her strength is the epitome of the league and like what I love about the WNBA. Before we started this show, I talked about the opportunity that the WNBA gave to players, and a lot of people, or a lot of young ladies right now, are probably don't remember a time when there wasn't a WNBA. It was started in 96, 97. And just the presence of the league alone is important. And you know, this was a big conversation in 2MW this morning, and I want to bring it up now about supporting the women, because a lot of the times people talk about this league and they say it's not profitable. And I want, sorry, Sherry, pull me back if I'm doing anything negative, because I know you want it to be a positive thing. But
I got you.
I want to make sure that people understand how important it is, this league, for women to see and have. It's very important. I know you guys are wired for a business perspective, and I'm a business person. Don't want to date myself, but like, I'm a 15-year MBA, right? I know business. I have my own business, that sort of thing. I understand profits. I understand revenue, all that stuff. That is clear. WNBA is not not profitable. And I understand that. But there's some things you have to understand for women that are needed for us to continue to thrive as women. And I'm not talking about on a girl power feminist tip, but we need little things that will help us feel like we have a chance to express ourselves and participate in things that wasn't allowed for us to participate in. I was sharing the story. And do we have any guys in the room still?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so guys,
I'm here.
I just want to tell you.
Shout out to 2MW's Charles Porter is even in the comments.
What's up, Charles?
Tricia, what's up, Charles?
I want to tell you guys that in '96, when they first started the WNBA, it was a very emotional time for me because I love sports. I've always loved sports. People always wonder things about me. Well, the story behind me is like I was the only girl in my family until I was about 16 years old. So like if my boy cousins went to the card store or the comic store, I went along. They had to go to the park, they sent me along too. If they were playing football in the street, I had to be the quarterback because, they're not going to tackle the quarterback, right? I have to I throw the ball, right? So that, I had to participate. And that's where my love of sports came. But the one thing I could not do and wasn't allowed to do is play. Right? We could not play basketball with the boys. I had to always stand on the side of the court and watch. We weren't allowed. Remember, 1996, 95, we're not allowed to play unless we were one of those girls that were always hanging out with the boys and could play a boys level. Like maybe there were one or two of us in that did that, like as far as in the parks I know, but we weren't allowed to play. Right? And Sharon would tell me, we weren't even allowed to stand at the side of the court, even in the pickup games. That is true. Yeah. I was a big double dutch person. I played double dutch.
No females.
Double dutch. But if I wanted to stand by the court, I literally had to dress up full Scully, like people could not know that I was at the court.
Come with a hoodie on,
everything. Right.
Had to wear your high tops. You couldn't wear lows.
Right.
Your high tops,
right,
with the tongue up and tied all kind of. You couldn't have it just straight lace. You got to have it all. You had to have that look.
Right.
Yeah.
And I would have a little basketball under my shoulder. Like a little. That was my purse, but I had a little basketball. Right. We weren't allowed to play, not because of the girl power things, multiple things. We didn't play regularly, and boys are stronger than girls physically, where it's not safe, right, to play. So you have to understand what the WNBA means for us. We didn't get to past, and girls play college ball, but I'm talking about like the littler ones that were still on the courts and going to the park and stuff, right? Weren't able to play unless there was like a real girls team put together, and weren't even allowed to go on the court to play, shoot the ball around, and none of that. Imagine in 95, right? 96. You got to give us this. And you got to let us have this. And we, sports is a male thing. I'm not going to be delusional and say sports is a woman's like arena. Sports is a male arena. So we're not conditioned to come to our own games. We're trying to get dates. We're trying to get ready for marriage. We're trying to do all that stuff, right? We're not conditioned to do it. So we are depending on other males to support us, support our sport. I know we don't bring in the money, but we need it. We really, really need this from a mental standpoint, from like even from like going forward. and I would equate this to, and not to be political, but to all the Black men, when Obama first came in office, you were like, wow, we could get there. That's the same mentality, the same thing that happened in my head when my basketball coach informed me that they're going to start a WNBA. At the time, they were distributing VHS tapes called We Got Next, and he handed us these tapes at practice, and I was like, what is this? And he's like, they started a professional basketball league for women. I was like, what? Right? Mind you, I'm still a bench player, so I'm not getting that.
Right.
I'm like,
it didn't matter though. Didn't even matter.
Did not matter. Right? So please.
Love of the game. Love of the game. We just want to play.
Please, we just want to play. Like you guys have always been able to play any game you want. Any game you want, you could come in and play. There's no stopping. But imagine not being able to go to the park and shoot the basketball, or you got to shoot it real quick and get off the court, right? Right? Like you imagine not being able to play. And or playing a sport and knowing your cutoff is college. You're not going past this. Right? Y'all gotta give us this. Please. Yeah. Like it's refreshing to us to know that we have it here. We're gonna get better over time. We're already starting to evolve as physically as people. We're starting to dunk now. Like you have to give us time. Right? And I know time is money, but it's worth it because the women are going to be so much more empowered later. They're going to, and these women, even though they may not be players and we're sometimes fans and we're sometimes watching, we are the mothers to your kids. And we need to have that strength, the mental strength that we're supported from every different place. Right? So please, stop shitting on people or start shitting on the WNBA. Don't do this cut and dry return on investment thing. I get it. We're not profitable. But even Europe, they're taking the hit because they know, right? That's why we go over to Europe where we get more money. But give us this because we could not play on the court at all.
Right. And that's all we wanted to do is play. We did not want to be equal to men.
No, not whatsoever.
Believe it or not, fellas, women like Tricia, Joy, and I, we know that you guys are physically stronger, and we don't have any problem saying that. See, problems there are problems that stem from the feminist movement from my generation, where we kept walking, where some of us kept walking around saying, we're equal to men. We're just as whatever as men. Yes, we are just as smart. Yes, we are just as intelligent. But physically, we're not as strong as men. And I'm not saying that there's not one woman stronger than a man, because I know some men that I am stronger than, full-grown men. But that's okay. But by and large, yes, you are stronger. But you being stronger should not be used as a tool to exclude us from enjoying and playing and profiting from and participating in the sport of basketball and not seeing it either. I just don't understand that mentality.
Right.
Stop telling us that we don't belong and embrace it. And as Tricia mentioned, you have a mother, you have sisters, you have aunties, you have cousins, you have daughters. And you mean to tell me you're going to raise your daughter who happens to love basketball, and you want to raise her saying, well, when you get out of college, it's over with. You either got to ship over to Europe or do something else, because we're not going to have the WNBA. Now, we don't want that trash here. I'll watch you, but none of my boys, I'm not going to have them watch you because the WNBA is whack.
Yeah, the product.
Are you really going to say that to your daughter? You're not going to say it to your daughter.
Right.
But yet you will sit in a sports chat and say that to me and Tricia Joy like it ain't nothing.
Right.
And it's ridiculous. You are so hypocritical.
Right.
And then, I usually try to tackle it from a less emotional part when I look at the history of the NBA, and whenever I bring this up, I see revisionist history all in the comments. You guys don't know about or may have forgotten about when the NBA was not profitable. You probably don't know about or forget about when it became profitable and how. Because there were, all the owners were pitching in and they lost money every year. It wasn't that their profits were small. They weren't making any profit for a long time. And so they continued to invest in a product that was not being accepted. And that was mainly because of racial reasons and because of the things that the players were doing in their personal lives off the court. And it was not appealing to the average fan at the time. But no one wants to talk about that, how they did it. All you want to say now is how the WNBA doesn't get as much revenue as the NBA. So therefore, we can't pay them equally to NBA players. I haven't heard one, please point it out to me, the time you heard a woman say that the WNBA players right now need to be paid equal amounts to an NBA player. I just want to see it because I've never seen it. So if you guys can find a link to something, y'all always talking to me about my proof. You know how they do me in 2MW, Tricia. I got to have a link or something. So why don't you give me a link to someone, a woman actually saying that, or even a man? I'll take that. I don't ever hear that.
Yeah,
and I don't believe that.
Yeah,
I don't even feel that way. Tricia Joy doesn't feel that way. We know that they cannot be paid equal amounts because it's not equally as profitable.
Right.
But it doesn't mean that the salaries that they're receiving now aren't ridiculous, though. They are ridiculously too low.
Right.
And my argument has been for the last 5 years is that they should take different steps and do more to strive towards that parity. And don't give up on the WNBA. Market it properly, improve the product in a way that will make it more engaging with the public. Say what they're going to say, say what they say, and do what they say they're going to do. So if you're going to promise this with the WNBA, deliver what you promise.
Right.
Deliver that. They have failed at that in a lot of ways, especially the delivering the promise and then making the promise and not delivering on it.
Right.
For instance, last season when they had that record-breaking season, this season when even though the viewership was up the first 2 weeks of the WNBA, what also happened by the third week, people started complaining because they would announce that these shows would be broadcasted on these particular streaming services. People would go to the streaming service and the show wouldn't be there. The broadcast wouldn't be there. Or they would say, we're going to broadcast the LA team, the Sting, what are they called? The Sting?
Sparks.
No, not the Sting. The Sparks versus the Liberty on this particular streaming service at 7 p.m. And then they don't tell you how to get to the streaming service. They don't give you the path or the link. So people are mad. And then they're flooding the WNBA website. Where is the show? Where's the broadcast? All that happened. But guess how much coverage that issue got? Very little. Right. Very little. So this is what I'm saying. You're not telling the truth when you say that nobody wants to watch the WNBA. That is a flat out lie.
Right.
Because and more men watch sports than women across all sports, even figure skating. Now that's something I didn't know. Okay? More men watch sports than women everywhere. That's just the way it is. So we're not, so for you to blame it on us, this is another thing that I hear. Well, then y'all women, more y'all don't even watch the W. Y'all don't even, Well, we don't watch all sports, period. We don't watch the NFL like y'all do. We don't watch the NBA like y'all do. We don't watch Major League Baseball. We don't watch hockey. There's no sport that we watch more. None. There's just not. So I'm like, so get that argument dead on arrival.
Right.
Throw it out the window.
It's it's
so.
I
feel like sometimes I'm fighting a losing battle, but when I see the results, when I check the data almost every week during the WNBA season, I'm checking. I really do. And when I see the improvement is inching up, when I hear those comments in these sports groups now by y'all boneheaded men telling me that it doesn't deserve attention and it's not important, right, and it needs to be trashed, I am better able to handle it now because I know you don't know what you're talking about.
Right.
You're just being ignorant, and that's okay. You're going to be ignorant because I know better. I know better. Go ahead, Tricia and Dennis. I just had to get that off. I just had to say it because Tricia and I, we've been talking about this, especially in 2MW for years. And it's been a couple of times. That's one of the reasons that you mentioned earlier that you would call me and say, I'm leaving the group because of the way we would get treated on the wall by these flaky men.
Right.
Hypocrites, big time hypocrites, ignorant to the facts. All they talking about is they're not profitable. Never want to address what to do to realistically make it more profitable. Even saying crap like they're just look too small on TV. Maybe we need to make the court smaller.
That was a big,
forget that.
Well, Dennis, that was a big falling out.
I'm not even going to say who the person is. I'm not trying to drag him at all because that's my dude. I love talking.
We're friends now. See, that's
we're going to leave that alone. But that was one of the most ridiculous things that we had ever heard. And that left us pissed for months.
We were told that people don't watch the WNBA because we look too small on the court. So if they could make the court smaller and so we could look bigger on the TV, then you guys will watch. And they were dead ass serious about it too. Mm-hmm. So
adamant.
That's it. But yeah, Dennis, happy to hear your thoughts. I think Sharon said everything that I could say.
I actually watch the WNBA from time to time. I don't catch every game because, as Sharon said, they kind of hard to catch.
Yeah.
Even with me having 5,000 channels.
Yeah.
Shout out to my 5,000 channels. It's still hard to catch. You know what I mean? But I did see Diana Taurasi score that 37. They're playing against the Las Vegas team with Liz on there. I kind of got a crush on her, and it's surprising how good the Chicago Sky is. With my boo Candace Parker. It's surprising. Right. I'm like, they just got that team. And she's trying to take them to the championship already.
She's the common denominator.
Yeah, she's trying to take them to a championship already. I'm like, damn.
Well, you knew when she and our boy Derek Fisher had issues that was gonna happen. She had to go, so she could finish out her career.
I ain't seen a bright spot in Derek Fisher past the Lakers.
Okay.
That's all I'm gonna say. I ain't seen a bright spot. You mean
the Sparks?
No, past the Lakers. Since he won that sixth championship with the Lakers, or fifth, right. Fifth championship with the Lakers, I ain't seen nothing good out of him since.
Okay, all right. Okay.
That's what I'm gonna say.
He's still fine as hell, but yeah, you're right.
Yeah, he fine enough to steal motherfuckers' girls.
Fine. Yeah, he's fine. I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about the way the man looks. Still fine.
All types of drama around him.
He started drama.
I don't do the drama conversations. You know me.
I don't.
I don't like to talk about them drama stuff. Who took whose girl and all. I don't really care about that. Mm-mm.
Yeah, but the WNBA, I just feel as though it needs to be. There's a lot of things. There's a lot of sports things that I say needed to be promoted better. I mean, like I say that to you a lot about boxing, Sharon. It
Mhm.
needs to be
Right.
promoted better. Like if it's a fight that they
Mhm.
want everybody to see, you'll see it everywhere. Like remember we was watching the game together, and the Pacquiao fight was on the first preseason game. The Steelers was playing against the Cowboys first preseason game. Before halftime, it was 5 commercials about Pacquiao fighting Errol Spence. Before halftime, 5 commercials.
Right.
I'm like, this.
Mhm.
You don't put the same. I don't know why they don't put that same money and promotion into a lot of other sports. WNBA being one of them.
Mhm.
They need it. They definitely need it. And matter of
Yeah.
fact, I know I need to
Mhm.
go to a game. Too bad it ain't nothing in Philly, but I need to go to a game
But Dennis, I would like to
before
thank you
the.
for watching the games. I mean, like, that's all I think is that guys should watch more. Just give it a chance. I'm not saying that everybody should become a fan, but just give it a chance. And I think
And talk
once
about it. And
and
talk about it.
talk about it, because you like,
Mhm.
even just seeing you guys, seeing that you know watch specific games and can talk about different things, that means a lot to, like, just me, but in general, other guys will look up to you and look up to and watch the show. They can see that it's a topic that you think is important, or you have covered, and they will they will kind of nudge themselves to look at it. And each guy needs to give the guy that sort of, like, okay, or freedom, or word of mouth, to like just check it out, or look at the score, look at these highlights. You don't even have to watch the whole game, watch the highlights, right? Like, watch it, see what happens. Because at the end of the day, even if it comes down to a business thing, we cannot survive, the WNBA cannot survive without male support.
Man,
That's it.
Yeah.
I don't want to say. I don't want to say male support. They can't survive without support. Period.
Period.
True. But mainly
Period.
you guys.
But it's mainly you guys, because the
Mhm.
basketball, we sports is made for men.
Mhm.
It is.
Right.
It is. I'm not gonna deny it. I'm not gonna be like, you know, I'm not gonna be in denial about it. Like, you guys own this realm of sports. We compete in sports activities. That's true, right? And we have, like, big
Mhm.
leagues like Serena and stuff like that. But like I was telling Sharon, in my opinion, you guys are okay with tennis, right? Because tennis is more so a game of prestige. It actually represents wealth. So, like, yeah, Serena looks good, but at the end of the day, you guys would support tennis because it's a to me, it's a wealth sport. And so, just like cigars represent wealth, like tennis matches, like, you guys are okay with it, but uh, other sports
Golf
are
is the same thing.
golf,
Represents wealth.
I don't want to say
Mhm.
that.
golf, but
Sorry to say, I don't watch either one of those.
well, yeah, I,
We know that
I,
too.
I I know,
We
but
know.
I'm saying more
We
men
know.
are open
But you get
to
the
it,
point. You get the point.
right? But yeah, I do think it's so dope that you watch some games. I'm not expecting you to watch all of them. I don't expect all men to watch all WNBA games. One game, cool, buy a t-shirt, do something that every little bit helps. But so I hate to say think of it as a charity, but we do need this support. It's a vital thing for us to see and have this um opportunity. And if it does go away because it comes down to, like, the numbers, then we're back to a point where, what's the point of women even playing basketball if the cutoff is college, or they have
Right.
to leave
But
they have to
they
leave
make.
home.
But the crazy thing is they make more money overseas than they actually do.
Right,
Right.
right. And
And that's
so,
a travesty.
yeah,
Yeah.
you
That's a
know,
travesty given what this country is supposed to be about.
right.
That's a travesty.
I didn't know that until Steve Harvey had Candace Parker on his show when he had his
Mm-hmm.
daytime show. He had Candace Parker on there, and she
Mm-hmm.
explained how she make more money overseas than she do.
Yeah, yeah. So a lot of
Man,
decisions women would
you
have
mean
to.
you didn't learn that just from loving basketball?
No,
You could have got
I
that
didn't
just
think.
you could have just got that just from the movie.
No, on Love but on Love and Basketball, remember she at the end she got into the WNBA.
I know it
So I
because
didn't. So
they finally created the league.
yeah, but it didn't tell me that she made a lot of like. It didn't tell me that the WNBA is paying less than what they're paying over there. Like
Yeah.
they didn't
Okay.
get into that.
So this is what but this is what you missed. Rather than go back over there and make all that money, because remember, he wasn't doing anything.
No,
He was hurt.
Yeah,
And he had the child. And he was at the game, but he wasn't doing anything. He wasn't playing. But rather than take her and her family back over to Europe, she stayed there and played WNBA. You remember that, right?
I remember that.
She gave up all that money to go to the WNBA, even though they were paying her less. It was worth it to stay home because she missed home.
That's why I said they need a part 2 to that the little girl actually comes up playing basketball. That's what they need now.
I agree with that.
Spike, if you listen to Spike, you need a part 2 to that where the little girl actually grows up
and please bring the same people back if you can. I mean the chemistry between Omar Epps and Sanaa Lathan is just incredible, and we need them to be back as the parents.
Right.
Substitute nobody. I don't like sequels when the originals aren't there. It just does something to me.
Right. I'm gonna send this to Spike.
You better write it too.
He's gonna write it down. He's gonna clip it and send it to him. I know what he's gonna do. Dennis is a master at clipping video, and I'm trying to learn. I'm trying to get better at that.
I think I'm just nice. I don't know if I'm a master.
But Dennis, let me see where we are on the show. This is I know what I wanted to say. Now, Tricia Joy's eyes are probably gonna get this big when I make this statement because I don't usually do this. But I want to give a shout out to a member of 2MW. I'm in probably about 3 or 4 different groups with this individual, and we don't tend to get along. So we kind of avoid each other, right? But the one thing I must give a shout out to him for is the way he posts about the WNBA. He posts in 2MW and he posts in Round Ball Round Table about the WNBA. So-and-so did this last night in the playoffs. He posts often. And that's the one time I will like his post when he does that. And so I'm gonna give this shout out to Siaka Sase. I think that's how you say his name. See, I told y'all she was gonna make that face.
What?
Because he does that. He does that. And like I said, I told you, Damon Hargrove and everybody else, that when I make these sports comments or comments in general, it's not about my emotions or how I like the person and don't like the person. I really try to be objective. And objectively, Siaka, and let me say also Isaiah Reef, I think it's Isaiah Reef, Brooklyn is his name on the thing.
Yeah.
Or Isaiah Reef in 2MW. He also posts about the WNBA often. If I'm forgetting about somebody, maybe Daryl Hall, maybe in 2MW, they all post about the WNBA, and I appreciate that. And Dennis, I also too thank you for watching the WNBA, as Tricia said earlier.
Yeah,
I just do, because it's important. We don't hate men. We love men. We love them. I love y'all. I have a son, and I have a daddy that was the world to me. So I love men, but I'm telling you, without y'all, we can't have the WNBA. So stop slamming us. That's all I want to say. That's all I want. That's the final thing I want to say on the WNBA. I think we need to move on, but I just think that we got to have this conversation. This is a great conversation, you guys. No trolling, no arguing, no elevated voices, nothing. This was good.
I gotta tell Siaka.
Yeah. I'll have
serious.
Dennis clip it and send it to you. You can show him.
It must be serious with Siaka.
Shout out to Siaka. That man can't stand me. I'm just saying. He cannot stand me because I'm a Kobe fan, and he hates Kobe to the death. And He just can't stand me because of, whatever. But I give credit where it's due, and I do appreciate the fact that he does post, comment, and say good things about the WNBA in NBA, even though he also acknowledges it's not profitable. He does post about it. Sometimes he posts more about it than I do. So, which is, that's saying something. So I believe that's how you say the last name though,
I
Sise,
don't
or is
even
it
know how you
Cisse?
say it. I'm just in shock.
Okay,
Like,
Siaka Cisse.
yes.
Siaka Dauda Cisse. I believe that's his name. So I
Congrats.
shout out to you, Siaka, and just so you know, straight from me, I sincerely appreciate that. I really do. Mhm.
That's cool.
I think this is a good place to end it, man. Like,
I don't
Yeah.
know what else is
Now,
on. What else is on
now
the
we'll
thing?
we'll end it with this because I do know I don't know if you is it a stage play or more so just an acting career that you have going on because you kind of everywhere like broken glass. I gotta
who, me?
yeah you
She does.
I
She
gotta
does
Oh,
plays.
okay.
She does
that
commercials. She does
commercial
short
right yeah.
skits. She does
You ain't seen her
videos. She
Great Adventures
does.
commercial. You need to see it. It's crazy.
Mhm.
Sure. So I do a little bit of both. I started out, so the comedy thing that I started when I was on stage, right? I did a lot of stage and play practice with a couple of drama schools and the acting school, I mean the comedy schools that I've enrolled in. So they call it like black box stage comedy on stage. This year, well, recently, starting November of 2020 through now, actually, is when I transitioned, obviously because COVID closed theaters. I've been doing a lot of stuff on screen. So TV, there's another TV show that should be coming out soon that I taped in March that I was in, and I did Evil Lives Here, so that's another TV show. I did the commercial, the Six Flags. I did another commercial for another company, but I don't want to say it until it comes out. So
All right. Okay. No,
that's
respect.
out. I did something for like a YouTuber that has a production company. He has like 4 million followers. I did something like that in April. And then coming up in October, like, well, it's October now, but later on this month, I'm gonna be in my first feature film. So that's gonna be cool. Um, um, I'm thinking about the contract to see if I could actually say what I'm doing, but I won't. But I'm I'm in a feature film, and it shoots this month. So, whenever it comes out, it comes out. So yeah, I'm actively auditioning for both stage and screen, but mostly most of the stuff are gonna be like on screen stuff that's coming out um going forward. I'm getting back to the stage. COVID kind of got me a little shell shock, but starting November, December, I'm gonna start making my way back to Broadway, off Broadway, and doing shows on stage. So
You write now? Do you write shows too or no?
yeah, well, so yeah, I write sketch comedy. I wrote a lot of Christmas based sketches that were performed off Broadway right before COVID, right? So I had like 6 pieces that are either Santa, I love me some Santa based, holiday based shows that were performed in the Producers Club in Manhattan, and another stage, the Magnet Theater in Manhattan. And I also wrote a feature film, which I'm trying to get pitched, and I'm in the process with that. And I'll give you more details about that off screen. But that was the first, like in COVID, I sat down and had this idea about a basketball movie. And I just sat down and wrote the whole thing in 4 days. It's 90 pages, 92 pages long, I've had people read it, edit it, and it's going to be like an animated film. So I'm, I'll actually, Sharon, you read a version of it, right?
Yes, I did.
Yeah. So it's been improved since then, but it's
I have to see the revised copy.
Yeah. It's called Back to Colorado, and it's not like it's a film that talks about the family composition and household, but from an alien perspective. The basketball player is an alien, but they're NBA players, and it's not like Space Jam, definitely not as hokey, but a little bit more serious. The main character is handicapped, so it's overcoming hardships is the theme of that film.
Okay, all right. Tricia
Love
Joy,
it.
writing, acting, doing comedy.
Yeah.
Now, have you ever did stand up? Let me get that out the way.
No, I haven't, but I've been invited to do it. I feel like the craft is such like
you gotta hit. You gotta hit.
you can't just
You gotta hit. It's like I'm nervous to do it myself, but you gotta hit. It's like
yeah.
I know a lot of comedians, and matter of fact, one of them live out there in Brooklyn with you, Reggie Conquest. I
Okay.
went to school with him. Yeah. So them boys is actually hitting. He's been doing it since like 2004.
Right.
He's just now getting on. He's been on Insecure. He's been on
Okay.
Sam J's Pauls and the Michael the Michael's TV show. He's been on all of them.
I don't know if I'm funny enough for stand up. I have funny stories, but I don't know if I'm like I have the craft.
I think you're funny. I think you're funny.
See, I think I am funny enough for stand up.
Your comedy would be story comedy.
Right.
Yeah. It's not the hit them hard and fast stand up. You'd have to do like a special. Like when Whoopi did her one woman show.
Yeah.
It wasn't like this. It was stories cracking you the hell up. That's you. I would be rolling.
I'm gonna try it. Dennis, you say you're gonna do it?
I might try. Don't you be pressuring me into trying to do it early.
But let's set a goal. Let's set a goal. What date? By what date? Let me.
See, this is how she gets you. She does it to me. I just love it.
What date?
Thank y'all for coming to the side, Jawn.
Stop it.
You know, when we debuting, Dennis, January.
No, we better talk about that after the show. In the post show. We don't have to get them, but let me read these couple of comments just to close out. OG, shout out to OG for still being with us, said we need to see the WNBA on ESPN primetime. Yes, we need to see more of that. They're on their primetime sometime, but it's usually on ESPN2 and not on one primetime. So yeah, we do need it on the main. And OG said that's how overseas attracting our women, the more chatter. And he said, Tricia Joy get down like that. He's like giving you props. And Mr. Damon Hargrove said, I would say bring Tricia Joy on Talk Your Ish Tuesday, but shit, I don't want her and Miss Chocolate to steal my shine since I look better than Dennis, Ron, and OG Czar combined. LOL. But in all seriousness, great show. Please do it again. Much love and respect the knowledge off the charts. Thank you, Mr. Hargrove. We thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hargrove.
Thank you. Yeah. All right, Dennis, that's all the comments.
Well, again,
we got some final words. Anybody? Let's start with our guest.
Yeah, let's start with Tricia. Tricia, she got
some final words.
To all the people that are doing their own content and they're finding out that they are having a hard time. Just keep believing in yourself. Keep going. Look at Dennis and other people and look at their work ethic. And I'm sure Dennis can share some of his own personal ways of getting over like tough days. That I think that would be a good thing to hear. But like always know, like, just keep going. That's my final thing.
Um, the way to get over tough days is just know that the light at the end of the tunnel. One of the things that they always say in the Bible is that the God won't put more on you that you can bear. You know, so it's gonna be tough days, and I always look at it like that, like oh man, I'm broke, I can't do nothing. I'm at the bottom. Well, I can't go no further down from here. That's the way I look at it. So there ain't nothing else to do but go up.
Right.
That's exactly what it is. I look at a lot of things different than other people. A lot of people. That's why I call myself the ignorant thinker. Because I look at things a lot different than other people. A lot of other people be like, "Oh, I'm here. I'm stuck. I ain't gonna never be nothing." Nah, 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 nah. It's a rise and fall, man. I'm trying to get to an even level. You know what I mean? That's all it is. I'm just trying to get to an even level and be happy. Always be happy with what you're doing. If you ain't happy, then leave whatever you fucking with. Leave it alone. Throw it in the trash. But be happy. Is my last statement.
All right. And my final thoughts. First of all, thank you to everyone who came into the side, Jawn, with us today, listening, engaging, commenting, and not commenting, just watching the show. We thank you because we do it for you guys, and without you, we can't do it. So we appreciate all the comments, the views, the likes, the shares, all of that, everything. Thank you to our wonderful, wonderful, wonderful special guest, Tricia Joy, for dropping so much knowledge today. We really enjoyed having you on. We knew this show was going to be special, which is why it was not pre-announced. And we knew it would be a special one, but thank you for coming on. And to all people out there, again, who are doing their thing, keep going. Like Tricia said, deal with the negative and use it for the positive. Just everybody stay safe. Just remember we're all human on this earth. Just be good to people. Just be good to people and be good to yourself. It finds its way back to you when you're good to others, even when they're not good to you.
Right.
Just be good. Just make the decision because that karma, it will come right back around. And even when you feel mistreated and you think by being good to that person makes you look like a sucker, trust and believe with patience. You will see you will win in the end because of it. The wisdom of my ages, my years on this earth tells me that it's been proven to me many and many times. So I'll just leave that with you. Happy Saturday, everybody. If you have an election going on in your state, where you are, your town, please get out and exercise your right to vote. No matter who you're voting for, have your say. Love all of y'all. Love everybody. I'm just glad to be still here fighting. Just glad to be here.
All
Dennis,
right. God
it's on you.
bless. Great day, baby.